Good evening, everybody.
I just found the keys to a city. The beats are big and the lights are pretty. So why can't we get to the busy where the dreams are in the sky? You got me high on wonders and why. You got me high, I think I might die. I'm face to face with a mirror. I've never felt so one with another. So why can't it all be clearer? Don't you see the sign? It's not fair. Let me put my fingers through you there. It's not fair. It's not fair. I'm not full without you there. But there you are. La 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 la. Wish you had a song. La 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 la. Wish we could go far. I just close my eyes, just close my eyes. There you are. I just close my eyes, just close my eyes. I just found the keys to a city. The beats are big and the lights are pretty. So why can't we get to the busy where the dreams are in the sky? You got me high on wonders and why. You got me high, I think I might die. I'm face to face with a mirror. I've never felt so one with another. So why can't it all be clearer? Don't you see the sign? It's not fair. Let me put my fingers through you there. It's not fair. It's not fair. I'm not full without you there. But there you are. La 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 la. Wish you had a song. La 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 la. Wish we could go far. I just close my eyes, just close my eyes. There you are. I just close my eyes, just close my eyes. There you are. I'm face to face with a mirror. I've never felt so one with another. So why can't it all be clearer? Don't you see the sign? It's not fair. Let me put my fingers through you there. It's not fair. It's not fair. I'm not full without you there. But there you are. La 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 la. Wish you had a song. La 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 la. Wish we could go far. I just close my eyes, just close my eyes. There you are. I just close my eyes, just close my eyes.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to another morning nonsense, another malicious, delicious morning nonsense. Hope everyone is doing fantastic, as I always do. Hello, orcs and gamers. welcome. Hello, Botan Pants. Thank you very much for the 299. Appreciate that. Poke, you say. Hello. Are we doing awesome? Awesome. Very special episode today. Very special episode. Fantastic stuff. So, hello, Best Chat. Welcome, Best Chat. Welcome. It's past Monday. If you survived today, if you're here today, if you're still alive, congratulations then. You made past the Monday, the dreaded Monday of the week. So, fantastic. Today, very special today because we have several guests, but one main guest I think you'll all enjoy. Better than all the other ones. The usual people. It's usual people. Welcome, Graham Nolan.
Good morning.
I think there we go.
Can you hear me?
Good morning, Graham Nolan.
Good morning.
Oh, sure can.
Okay, good.
Oh, good morning. A little nice poster you have back there.
That's my
Fantastic.
stand-up for conventions.
There we go. Oh, good, good. Look, it looks really good. We're going to talk about that, I think, because one thing everyone was interested about is that the whole creation of Bane. I know he did other works too, but that's the one that everyone seems to be wondering about. But before we get started, there are a few more guests that decided to graciously join us today, just in case I run out of internet gas or mysteriously vanish out of nowhere, which has been known to happen, as soon as yesterday. So first of all, welcome, Glib. Welcome.
Hello. Am I coming through?
Oh, sure.
Excellent.
Let's see here. And
How do you do?
oh, pretty good. Let's see here. One more.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello, Shiny.
All right. A very modest poster you have back there. Very modest. Have your name in very big letters.
You'd be surprised
That's how you
many
know he's awesome.
know it.
That's how you know he's awesome. And then one more to help batten down the hatches. Should we be flushed down the drain? Agent Yokai Zero. Welcome, Agent Yokai Zero.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
All right,
everybody.
So fantastic. All right, Best Chat seems to have assembled in the chat, and we're all ready for a nice session of delicious morning nonsense, which is usually very happy, very upbeat stuff, very, very, very easy listening, that sort of thing. Right, Shiny? Before we get started, before we dive deep into nonsense, I am very curious as to what kind of work what kind of comic book you have for us today. Let's see here. Let me bring it up real quick. There we go. Is it called the Chinu?
Yeah, the Chinu.
Oh, the Chinu. Okay. This looks interesting because this looks like maybe a horror / maybe I don't know. It just looks like horror to me. The cover anyway. The image here.
It's pure horror.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, the first. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the first first 5 pages.
Can I remind you the thing that movie, The Thing, a little bit?
I'm sorry.
It kind of reminds me about the movie The Thing a little bit.
Oh. Well, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does actually. It does. I see what you're talking about.
It takes place in Buffalo, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's Lake Erie that they're on fishing.
There we go. It's on page 4 right here. Interesting. And page 5. Well, you followed the mark pretty closely here because I mean really well. Because that's the amount of pages that they well, actually that's over the amount of pages that is usually recommended that you start off with. I started off with way too. I started off with 2 pages when I did mine. So this is good. It's excellent stuff.
Thank you.
And I saw this perk right here. Actually, I want to ask you about this. Are you Blue Moon fan?
I like it in the summertime.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the thing.
my beer tastes run the gambit from stouts to IPAs, all the way up and down. It depends on the season. Right now, I tend to go for something crisp and a little bit lighter because it gets hot, But once the weather changes, then I go right back to those heavy IPAs and stouts.
Yeah, there we go. I'm an IPA fan, but yeah, when it's summertime, it's usually time for maybe a lager if you're really into maybe it's not so hot of a day, but usually maybe a pilsner or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice Kolsch.
Exactly. And I saw this like that's Blue Moon. It's like Blue Moon.
I think the orange was the giveaway.
Yeah, the orange, and then the color. To me, Blue Moon always tastes like Cheerios, old school Cheerios, but because it's made from wheat, so it was good stuff.
That is true. Yeah. It looks like orange juice sometimes. It's so.
Yeah, it does. You can
So
kind of sneak it in there. Well, I can talk about beer all day.
Yes.
Check out your comic.
Very cool.
Let's see here. So you're already A+ with me being a beer fan. That's fantastic. Let's see here. Who is so we have some variant covers here. You got some pages. We'll just scroll down here.
Mhm.
And
There's a really cool video too.
oh yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I see because one thing I really don't. I was about to actually play the video. Then I saw you're offering a bookmark. Is this the bookmark? And it has the some words on it. Let's see here. What is this? Chapter Is that like a saying or a quote from the book or something?
No, it's just Greek type.
Oh, okay. I did get some stickers and trading cards and a poster.
Mhm.
Meat. It's what's for dinner. I like that.
Do you remember the old beef advertising campaign?
I do. What's for dinner? I remember that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, I went online and found the ad campaign, and I actually got the same fonts and everything, and created that logo so that it's an exact replica of it.
It's very nice because right below it, you could see that he's eating a nice, scrumptious, meaty repast. Like that's a nice little supper here.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get those. I gotta get those nutrients.
Look at that protein.
Yeah, you see, you go, you get that protein in before you go to the Iron Church.
That's it.
Oh, he's Paul Jackson, and that's a man's name. I like that name, Paul Jackson.
That's right. He's a manly man.
He's bald. He's like he just got out of the military, or maybe he's still part of the military.
He's a police officer.
Oh, he's a police officer. Oh, even better, even better. I like that. I really like that a lot. Police officer hero. I like that.
No, I thought we weren't allowed those these days.
That's why I love. I would love it normally, but I love it even more because now it's an act of rebellion.
Well,
Yeah,
what if it's even worse? What if it's a policeman who was ex-military? Like he was military and then he joined the police.
And he has an American flag tattoo somewhere. That'd be
That's even more toxic.
Triple threat right there.
When you're conceiving of the character, did you think of the character visually first, or was it when you were planning out the writing of it?
Which character? The Shanu?
Yeah, and the main and your hero as well.
Well, this guy is actually based on a friend of mine who is a Buffalo cop. So his look is definitely based on an actual individual. The Shanu, if actually on the campaign there, the actual first drawing of the character is available as a perk level. It's a sketch drawing that I did, when I was trying to develop his look. And I think when I look back at it now, I think that I tapped into some of my fears as a kid when I watched the Bumble from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's like,
oh yeah, that thing creeped me out too.
And he sort of strikes me as the Bumble on steroids.
And when you're as a add-on to that, I was wondering. So when you're sketching it out, you're using pencils, and is there like a do you doodle is what I'm wondering, or do you have a specific idea in your mind and then you set out and you sketch?
Well, you start with an idea, and sometimes it leads down another path. The original drawing that's up there is an actual hand-drawn drawing, but the book I'm actually doing digitally. I draw it on my iPad Pro.
Cool.
So that offers the ability to change things a lot, make adjustments and stuff. So like if I'm designing a character, I can move things around, change things very easily, just throw another layer on,
Yeah, I'll give you an example of that too. When my artist, he sent me a picture once that I commissioned, and I wanted to have a minor change. He said, it's good thing I did this digitally, because that change would require me to do the whole thing all over again if I did it traditionally. So because he did digitally, he was able to. It was an easy change, really easy change.
So when I worked for corporate guys like Marvel and DC, I never told them I did any digital work, because then they would ask for changes willy-nilly, and it's like, I'm not doing that.
They didn't pick up on it.
No.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Is he a Ruckensino? That's for
Keep your
$1.99.
mouth shut.
So do you mind if I because I wrote a couple things down, Literature Devil and Graham, I wonder.
Let me get this super chat real quick. And,
after the super chat, I'll ask my question.
Ruckensino, it's for $1.99. IPA. If I wanted grapefruit, I drink grapefruit. Yeah, IPA is usually where I go to. Double, triple IPAs. Those with good stuff. Good stuff. I think the IPA was created on ships because they just added extra hops and everything.
It was an English ale, and when they were shipping it to India, the beer would go bad, and they found out by adding extra hops that it not only increased its alcohol content, but it also kept it travelable, if you will.
Yeah, it kept the flavor, so they could sell old beers and make it
more bad on the ships.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. Really good stuff. Now it's an excellent style of beer.
I love it.
Let's see here. This is Shanu based on an actual mythological creature, or is it just something you made up?
No, it actually is. I was driving along the Lake Erie shoreline one winter, and I saw a storm coming across the frozen lake, and that's what inspired me. I thought, that would be a really great setting for a horror story. So I drove over to a local coffee shop and wrote the whole thing down. But I needed some type of a monster for it, so I started doing some research to see if there was anything that existed, mythologically or in lore. And I found a Native American creature called the Shanu. And the Shanu was a man who scarred his soul so badly he turned into this creature that would seek out the hearts of men to eat, to reclaim the warmth he could never have. And I was like, oh, perfect. So I used that and then created my own mythology around it.
It does sound perfect. I like that. That's really interesting. So that sounds like a hardcore folklore sort of name, the Shanu. That sounds really like it was actually existed. So it's like, does it exist or you make that up? Because if you made it up, that's actually spot on. You really know your stuff. But it does. It's you still know your stuff. You still know your stuff. It's fantastic stuff.
Thank you.
Really interesting. It sounds really creepy. The Shanu. It sounds like it's going to kill you and eat you alive. By the way, welcome, voice on the radio. Welcome.
Hello.
Awesome. Full house. That way
Good
we
day.
can it's a full party over here. Fantastic.
No
Okay.
drumming intro this time, I promise.
It's unfortunate. Everyone loved the drums,
That-
actually.
Yeah, that should be your intro. You just start playing drums. You don't have a clip.
Yeah, I'll just get a clip of someone playing drums, and I'll just make that your intro.
The guy from Whiplash. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. I'll get Derry Carey from Tool. There we go. But let's go ahead and we'll watch a video, and then Glib has some questions for you. And believe it or not, from what Glib has told me, he has questions for you relating to things other than Bane, like the Phantom, I think.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah, the thing I was going to ask is if you would do us the honor of enlightening us about some of the stuff about working in comics in general, in between conversations about your comic, which is really exciting. So
Absolutely.
that's
Fantastic.
when Literature Devil told me about it, I was like, wow, this is cool. So because I have a lot of questions as a writer, and I want to work with an artist. I think you have a pretty good and have had a pretty good working relationship with some of the writers that you've worked with.
Mhm.
And I was curious if you could tell us a little bit more about that over
Sure.
the course of this.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And we'll get to that. All the questions will be revealed. All the secrets will be told after the video.
After the break.
Because it's supposed to be a cool video. It's supposed to be an amazing.
It is. It is very cool.
Check it out. Make sure the audio is sharing, so I'm not changing the world.
So obviously never going to be as awesome as the Dr. Alpha trailer, but then call me biased.
Yeah, it can. It's very hard to match the Dr. Alpha trailer, obviously. Mainly because Shiny helped create some of it.
Which means I made the animation.
It helped. It helped. It was, you played a part. You played a part.
You really are the devil.
Yeah, that's why we locked in my basement. Anyway.
Tonight's big story centers on the state of emergency declared this morning in Buffalo.
Between 4,000 and 5,000 cars said to be abandoned on city streets.
Buffalo is still very much a city under siege.
Space's wind whips the snow into 30-foot drifts.
Idaho Falls Air Base, one of their...
The low tonight, 10 below zero. Get off the streets and highways as soon as possible.
Very nice transition.
Very nice. This is an excellent. This is one of the best trailers I've ever seen so far, actually.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Nick Grosh who did that. Did an
fantastic.
awesome job.
Awesome job. It's like a movie trailer almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
well, I wrote
fantastic.
this thing thinking movie.
Yeah,
know?
that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like I felt like I was watching this like a movie trailer.
Hmm.
This would go well in the theater also. Like right before the movie starts, it's one of those trailers that they play in front of those. Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really good. Very nice. Very nicely
Yeah,
done.
thank you.
Let's see here. Hatch 450SX, sandwich with 5. Mr. Nolan, I have to say, Bane is my favorite Batman villain. It's amazing what you did with such a simple idea and how complex that chat actually is. Yeah.
You meant to say cat. Complex that cat actually is.
Complex the cat actually is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
Nice.
People love Bane. People love Bane.
So I have a question. So just because I don't know that much about comics, so you were the creator of the character, or did you just write some very popular Bane comics?
No, Chuck Dixon and I created the character of Bane.
So I didn't know that. So you're responsible for every
More the visual
like
aspects,
everything. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I designed the way the character looks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Glib. Release the hounds, Glib.
Release the hounds. Well, I'm an avid comic book fan, but especially because I collected a lot of stuff from the early '90s. There was a comic book shop that was near me that was run by these like 80-year-old people who were retirees that had just collections of comic books. So I could go through the really cheap stuff when I had my allowance, and I would just go through all sorts of random stuff. And one of the things that I really like are these noir comics of you have the Shadow, Phantom, and the like. So I was wondering what led you to that as an artist, if it was just something that was handed to you, or if you had an interest in it. What is the connection with you and that and Detective Comics being such a strong part of your career? The more
You mean the connection between me and noirish characters?
Yeah.
Well, I think I sort of lean towards that in my own likes. I wanted to draw Batman from the time I was probably 8 years old and watched the Adam West TV show back in the day, and I always was gravitate. Well, first off, I was a monster kid before I was a comic fan. You know, I read monster magazines and watched monster movies. So there's a certain darkness and shadows and stuff like that attracted me to that. And I think that carried over into comics.
The Black Lagoon era.
I'm sorry?
I don't mean to interrupt, but monster eras, you know how there's like in that world there's different eras. What was the stuff that first attracted you?
It was the Universal monsters.
Universal. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because there's some people that are like Hammer fans, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, my first monster movie was I was 8 years old, and my mom let me watch Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Oh,
and that movie just lit me up. I was like, wow, scared the shit out of me, but
yeah, absolutely.
I was only 8 years old, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I used to watch those movies and the Hammer movies, and that.
Real quick,
I had one of those impressionable minds where horror movies really scared me. I think the zombie movies were the things that scared me the most, where I was like looking outside the window because that night zombies were going to attack because I just watched the movie. You know what I mean?
Real quick, Off Nick says that it cannot be, the Shanu cannot be a movie because the Shanu cannot play the role of the Shanu.
Oh, yeah. if there's only a computer movie.
If only there was this technology.
Yeah, we need a real Shanu to play the Shanu. That otherwise it's considered
racist.
Offensive. Yeah, it's racist or something. I don't know.
But can a computer play Shanu? That's the question.
So
no,
would that be offensive?
It has to be actually Shanu. We got to go out and find a mythological folklorish creature.
Yeah.
Well, Ron Perlman's not available.
Wait, yeah, you're right.
Doesn't he always play big dumb monsters?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he might actually be a Shanu. He might be. I don't know.
He might be.
I'm just wondering if we can find a horse to play BoJack Horseman. That's what I'm wondering.
I think what's her name from Sex and the City? I'm pretty sure she's available, right? Ron Perlman. I don't know if he's a Shanu or not. I do know he pees on his hands though, purposely. So there's at least that. What kind of monster does that? If we could find what monster that does that, we got him cast. Ron Perlman could play him.
God, rich people are so weird.
Insult to the Race, English 5. Unfortunately, it can't be a movie since there aren't any Shanu to play the role. A Shanu credit. Oh, okay, same one. But thank you much for that, Insult to the Race. Appreciate it. Awesome. Yeah.
So
All right.
I had another question, Literature Devil, if you want. If
Sure, go ahead.
I
Yeah.
don't know how you want to, but I was just curious about style wise. If what I see is a lot of like the heavy shading, high contrast,
Mhm.
and I was wondering about your experience in the difference between like the traditional what we know as comic books and like Sunday strips, right? Drawing for different things, and if there was an influence on art either way.
Well, doing newspaper strips is an entirely different animal than doing comic books. There's a lot of restrictions uh, based upon the print needs and newspaper needs, like Sunday strips. You have to format in certain ways. Like there's a top tier that will get cut off in some papers, so you can't have any plot development there. You can't have stuff going out of the panels because some papers will cut up individual panels and stack them vertically rather than horizontally. Um, so there's a lot of limitations there. Whereas in comic books, you really have a blank canvas. The real estate is there to use as much or as little as you want, and as creatively as you want.
And when it comes to being in the comics gate, being new to comics gate, that sort of thing, with the creative freedom that you have, how has that changed from the previous? With this comic, what do you feel like you've been able to express that has been a little bit different from that sort of restriction? Is there anything that's been
Well,
majorly different?
not stylistically. There's no difference. I tend to style or adapt my style depending on the story needs.
Mhm.
When I did Monster Island last year, or Return to Monster Island, that was a lighthearted send up of like old Marvel monsters and Roy Crane aviation strips. So it has a very different feel to it than this, because this is a straight up horror tale. So there's a need for the high contrast and dramatic lighting that the other one didn't. So, it's just I
Interesting.
just adapt my styles based upon the story.
That's great. That kind of flexibility is amazing. Interesting. Thank you for answering that. That's like I have no conception of that, but I've been reading comics like my whole life. So being able to talk to somebody who has had this kind of experience has been really informative.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you again. And then relating that just to what you're saying, you were working with a web comic in I think the 2010s, that kind of thing. Is there a difference between distributing in that era and with Comicsgate now? How has the experience been on Indiegogo?
I still do my webcomic, Sunshine State.
Right.
And you
Right.
want to talk about stylistically different, that is just a, funny animal humor strip. Um, I love doing that strip. It is so much fun. That is distributed. I have a website for it at sunshinestatecomics.com,
Hmm.
but it also is distributed through Universal Press on their Go Comics site.
Right.
So it gets out to other viewers that way as well. So it's like digital. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Not subscriptions.
Distribution?
Syndication.
Syndication.
Digital syndication.
Cool. And so in that, when that would all be done digitally, by how long have you been drawing digitally for these mediums? Has it been since like 2010?
No, no. I just adapted it recently. I started doing my Sunshine States a couple years ago digitally on my iPad Pro, but that was a rather simple style and it was easy to do. And I've resisted doing comic book work on it because of the demands are different, and I just wasn't confident in doing it. But when I did The Expendables Go to Hell with Richard Meyer, Chuck Dixon, and Sylvester Stallone, that was so reference heavy. I figured there's no way I'm going to be able to do this in any kind of decent time frame if I don't try to do this digitally. So that entire book was done digitally on my iPad Pro.
Oh, that's awesome. That book, Expendables Go to Hell, I ordered 6 copies of.
Nice.
I got that pack where you get every single variant cover, and I got the hardback copy. So I really love Expendables, and Sylvester Stallone, big fan of Sylvester Stallone, big fan of Richard Meyer, and it was fantastic. It was yeah, that was right up my alley. So I got 5 copies of that thing.
Nice. It's a kick-ass story. I mean, it's Gonzo. It's crazy. But it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It has Sylvester Stallone punching Hitler in hell. There's no way I wasn't going to buy it. It was just too awesome. And see, Rocket and Saints for $9.99. Sunshine State meets Florida Man crossover win. Oh, Florida Man.
Mike Barron's book.
Oh yeah. Oh, Florida Man. Always wonderful Florida Man. There's actually going to be people in my subscribe side know this, but there's already going to be a Florida Man character in the Dr. Alpha universe. So look forward to that.
Okay, what?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a Florida Man in Dr. Alpha universe. He already has a backstory and everything. I already wrote a 1-page comic for him. If we're late, I'll release a 1-page comic. If we're late.
What can you give us any teasers on what Florida Man's powers are? Is he just insanely stupid, or
he basically his power is humidity. He can make you mildly uncomfortable with humidity. So
Mildly uncomfortable.
So he can't summon rain or anything. He just makes you humid. That's what he does.
And he can control palmetto bugs the way Aquaman can control fish.
Oh no.
He's telepathic. Oh, okay. So I see this Bane art here, and it's fantastic. And this actually reminded me of a question I wanted to ask. Did you see The Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
How did you think? What did you feel about the reinvention of Bane for that movie?
It was superfluous and stupid.
Like it's not the Bane which we know. He's not. He's not even using venom. He's just a bodybuilder.
What do you think?
He's not even that. He's a 5'9" actor, you know, with a face hugger mask that you can't stand. And then we find out he's not as brilliant as they portrayed him in the beginning of the movie. You find out he's just a patsy, just like he was in the other Dobie Batman and Robin movie.
Yeah,
you know, he's a patsy for a girl.
He's a lapdog.
Is that
He's a simp, you might say. You might say he's a simp. Like,
is
every
that
time
the biggest betrayal of Bane's character is his intelligence when he's being adapted? Is that one of the what are like the core aspects, do you think, when you guys were coming up with the character?
Bane is supposed to be he's supposed to be a mastermind, like a real mastermind.
Yeah, that is the biggest thing they lose, is that, you know, Bane is evil Doc Savage. So
Evil Doc Savage.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
awesome.
basically the premise for his character. He was the evil Doc Savage, super smart, super strong. In that page that you have up there, that's from Bane of the Demon. We had a scene where Bane and Ra's al Ghul were playing like 10 games of chess at the same time, you know. And everybody wants to do him as a brute, and everybody wants to do a back-breaking scene, and it's like, okay, we did that already, you know.
You do that once.
Yeah, let's concentrate on some of the aspects that make the character unique. And one of the things for me that I think is really interesting is that Bane doesn't see himself as a bad guy. He sees himself as a victim. That, you know, he was just a child. He was born in this podunk prison, you know, and he had to serve out the prison time of his father. You know, it was the way that it was. So he was molded by his environment into this monster that he is. And he thinks the world owes him for that, you know, because he was an innocent. And so when he's out doing bad things, it's because the world owes him, in his mind, which I think is a really neat hook.
And the mentality of a lot of people these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't like the kind of the adaptation, because so like a lot of the adaptations kind of view Bane, and the one I can think of specifically is the Harley Quinn animated series. They make Bane out to be this really fucking stupid buff guy, and he's a loser and no one likes him.
Right.
It seems to be
So
a
it's like
trend.
Everyone really dislikes Bane. It's like we had to go on a fucking robbery with Bane, and it's like they all act like they don't like him or act like he's stupid, and especially Two-Face kind of belittles him.
It seems to be a trend in modern media. I don't know. Like if it's a character that has big muscles, they cannot be smart. I don't know what it is.
Right.
It's just strange. I think it's kind of like because I have to say this, but I've looked into it a little bit, and it seems like because a lot of the people who are in control or hold the reins of modern media, or were at one point the kind of guys you pick on in high school, the kind of guys that got picked in high school, the nerdy kind of guys,
Mhm.
they see big muscular characters as kind of bullies, I guess, and they see that the big dumb jocks. They want to make the
Right.
big
They see them
muscle.
as big dum dums.
Yeah,
Right.
they want to make them. I don't know.
Course correction to appeal to dumb, big dumb fanboys.
Yeah, they see him as big dumb guys. Like if you, there's this mentality of the big dumb jock, the people that made fun of him in high school, whatever. It's the revenge or whatever. Maybe it's not even purposefully, consciously. Maybe it's like subconscious they're doing this, but.
Yeah.
Seems like maybe that's it, because it seems like the same kind of people that are in charge of entertainment now. Because you used to have Stan Lee, you used to have these guys who actually were in war, and now you have these guys who were raised on lattes and cartoons. So to me, it seems like maybe it's a vengeance thing, but to me, I've seen this pattern go on for many years. That if it's this big, strong character, the big, strong muscles, they have to be dumb. They cannot be smart.
I think it might be more due to the fact where it's not so much as they kind of view Bane as the kind of the bully. They probably view it more along the lines of, like they're just using him for a joke. It's like, oh, here's the stereotype of like it's kind of the idea is that you can't be intelligent and strong because it's like putting points in like D&D. So it's like, oh, so you put more points in strength, it means you can't put more points in intelligence.
As people really going to really hate the fact that Dolph Lundgren exists, bodybuilder guy with all kind of doctorates and stuff.
Yeah, chemical engineering degree, Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah, fantastic. He's like a living Mary Sue almost. But but it's not Bane's not alone in this. Superman also gets the rap of being dumb also, because
yeah.
Look at Superman, how he's portrayed, how he's looked at. Like he's
big
a
Boy Scout, they call him.
Yeah, the big Boy Scout.
Okay.
And then all these other characters that are like stand-ins for maybe parodies of Superman, they're all dumb as well. Like they're really oblivious to the surroundings, really dumb. So it doesn't matter if they're big muscles either. If they're characterized, if one of the main characteristics is that they're super, super strong, then they are also considered to be dumb.
Yeah, hulkish.
Yeah, hulkish.
Is there another portrayal of Bane by another artist or writer that you really liked after?
In comics, Scott Beatty, wrote a story with Bane, but he did it, under Chuck's tutelage, because they're friends. So that one, of course, came out really good. And to be honest, though, I just don't read it. I just don't read any of that stuff. The corporate comics just sicken me anymore.
Right.
So I just don't read any of it.
Is that part of the reason why Comicsgate was like a thing that is going on for a lot of artists? Is that there's such stringent I don't know what to call it, editorialization that makes it hard for what do you think is the commonality between all the different artists, writers, inkers, whoever that has sort of wanted to exit?
Well, I think it's because, well, first off, let me just say this: comics is an art form, and in an art form, you can have all kinds of different types of comics, and the difference is what we're talking about is corporate comics, about characters, which is basically children's entertainment, and they've gone so far over to the left that they're pushing social agendas and all kinds of other nonsense into the comics at the sake of eschewing entertainment. The comics aren't entertaining when they're polemics and when they're constantly telling you how you should feel or how bad you should feel, or nothing happens in these damn things. I want to see Galactus come down and try to eat New York, and the Fantastic Four go after him. I don't want Galactus to sit down and sip a latte and lament all the planets,
take selfies and stuff.
And oh my God, I feel so terrible. I ate Mars.
It's like, no, but that makes him relatable.
We get Galactus where he's we used to have Galactus where he's eating Earth or something like that. Today we'll have Galactus where he's taking a selfie with Earth right before he eats it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
with a giant avocado with a latte in it or something.
Yeah.
Well, KH has a question for you, Mr. Nolan. Good morning, KH, by the way. Thank you much for the 10. Good morning, LD. I have a question for Graham Nolan. Given the rise of anime and manga, would you have considered doing a collaboration of comics and manga? Like, I guess, Western style and manga style?
No, I don't particularly care for that style myself.
Mhm.
So it would be sort of antithetical for me to try and do something like that.
That makes sense.
It's not
That
in
makes
my
sense.
wheelhouse.
Now, would you agree with this notion, though?
Left-wing activists, they say, nice hobby that you have. It's a little bit sexist, don't you think? Maybe you better let us in to fix it. Bitch, it wasn't made for you.
I wonder who that was.
I think he's been around a little bit. That's how a lot of people going by a person looking in, because I wasn't a big comics book guy until maybe I liked comic books always, but I didn't really get into it until maybe in the last year or so when this whole thing came out.
Mhm.
That's for personal reasons, not really because I hated comics or whatever. I always liked the medium. I always wanted to do my own, but
Mhm.
from someone looking in, someone who was not really into the culture or anything like that, not obsessively, it looks like that's what it is. A bunch of people have infiltrated comic books and have started shoving their agendas where entertainment used to be.
Mhm. Well, there was a time too when the editors at these companies were the gatekeepers for those characters because they had value, they had history, and they didn't want just anybody coming in and destroying that history. Well,
So
now,
what you're saying is that you support gatekeeping.
what's that?
Oh, sorry, I was joking. Saying, oh, so now you support gatekeeping because there's like apparently we're the gatekeepers.
When it comes to characters owned by somebody else, somebody has to, make sure that they fall within the boundaries of what it is they're trying to do, what made them popular in the first place. When now we don't have any gatekeepers, and we have people. They're not writing Captain America. They're writing if I was Captain America.
Exactly. It is. That is what it is. Tom King
Yeah.
actually, Tom King actually admitted that, where people saying, "What did you do with Batman? What have you done? How have you look at you massacred my boy?" And Tom King said, "Just it's just me and my wife. Well, we don't want to read about you and your wife, Tom King. We want to read about Batman."
Well, that makes perfect sense to me because when I looked at his stuff, it looks like a therapy session. That's what that's how
he wants to sell us his therapy session. This is why I'm saying that modern comics have repelled so many people, because it's not the artist or the writer trying to entertain us anymore. It's the writer masturbating and then trying to sell it to us.
Yeah.
Well, it's something that
it's not wrong.
Well, also, it's a writer also doing that, and of course, calling us a
Nazi.
every page.
Yeah, that too.
Because if you don't agree with them, or if you're just trying to entertain, you're all of a sudden you're a Nazi for speaking out against any of this nonsense that they're trying to shove down your throats.
Because they're like Anakin Skywalker. You're either with us or you're against us.
Mm-hmm.
There's no functioning human being
So
in
you're
between.
my enemy.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing too that bothers me about all this is that these people don't have the balls to go out and create it themselves. So what they do is they look for jobs and they get hired on the basis of their orientations or their skin colors or whatever it is, without the talent to back it up. And they ruin the product that they get their hands on because they want to do their own thing. Well, if you want to do your own thing, do your own thing. As I said, if you can make a trans fire hydrant an interesting comic, then you go for it. You make it the most interesting comic you can, and you go out and you own it, you sell it, and you make your $1 million. But the fact is, with the crap they're trying to push, they can't sell it. So they're doing it under the umbrella of pre-existing characters, changing their orientations, changing their colors, whatever it may be. We have an Asian Hulk now. We've got a Puerto Rican Spider-Man. Create new characters. And if you do it for Marvel, if you want, and that's up to Marvel if they want to do that stuff, but they're taking the lazy route and they're taking pre-existing characters where all the heavy lifting and work was done by other creators.
Better creators.
It seems like
and they're ruining them.
Oh yeah.
I got no problem with anything you want to do, but you got to have the guts to say, I am so behind this thing, I'm going to fund it myself, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to own it. And if it fails, it fails.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to take.
They're going to sit there and go, it was because of COVID. We don't know what happened. It's just suddenly coming. No. Left-wing activists came in and decided to take over this industry, spit in your faces, and destroy what you loved. Wake up.
Yeah. They want to take existing characters, color them in, and then make them act like jackasses.
Oh yeah, Agent UK is here. I'm pretty sure you're a big Tom King fan. You're a big fan of Tom King's Batman, right?
I'm a fan of anything Batman, just as long as it isn't crap.
Well, so you're not a fan of Tom King's Batman then?
No.
I see what you did there.
So you rock and say all this for $4.99. Appreciate that. Was there ever a big dumb main character? They want all strong characters to be Lenny or Ox strong, from controllable docile beasts to fetish and own. Yeah, pretty much. They want male characters to be weak and controllable and not men. They want them to be really weak little people that can be easily controlled because they fear toxic masculinity and all that stuff. Hash for 5OSX and watch too. Back the Shanu. Awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir.
By the way, I backed two just a while ago.
Oh, awesome. Thank
so
you.
you got at least 2 backers today.
All right.
We'll back at a higher tier later. Oh, fantastic.
We're closing in on, let's do a refresh here. At 50,000 is when we hit the next stretch goal where we're going to do a foil stamp on the cover. And
nice.
So now we're at 49,178. So we're closing in on 50.
Awesome.
With, 4 days left.
Fantastic. Now, we're going to go off on the next the topic on how they create something. They have to use other people's creations or else they'll fail. This is actually a very interesting topic that came up recently on that little notion there. But before that, I want to ask you one more thing about Dark Knight Rises and how they would treat Bane on that one. If you were to redo it, if you were in control of Dark Knight Rises and you were able to recreate Bane, who would you play him and how would you portray Bane in that scenario?
I would have Dave Bautista play Bane.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
He's like he's made for it, kind of.
Yeah.
Like you could do kind of an older Bane.
He's got the that gravitas to his look. He's a decent actor. I think he could pull it off.
Yeah, he was really good in Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know. This is like a less viewed movie, but Man with the Iron Fist. Not the Netflix show, the Iron Fist, but like the one by RZA. RZA. He made one because he really loves that stuff. He loves kung fu movies, and he made a movie called Man with the Iron Fist. And Batista was in there. He played a guy called Bronze Body. He was really scary in there. Really strong guy. So yeah, Batista.
He was in that James Bond movie. What was it?
Oh yeah,
Sky.
I think it was Spectre. I think it was. Yeah, because it had the one with Hans Landa in it. That's the same. Because that's one where he discovered the secret
down at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he like just gouge out the guy's eyes with his really good stuff. Yeah, I forgot Batista was in there. He didn't even speak. I guess that's kind of like his strong point, just not speaking.
Yeah. Well, Bane's very loquacious, so we'd have to do a screen test.
Because he has Dave has such a strong presence, just standing there expressing faces.
Menacingly.
Yeah. You just be like, oh.
To be fair, Jet Li has the same problem. Jet Li's very menacing, but when he speaks, he stops being menacing.
Yes. I was wondering, kind of as a segue, do you think that there was like kind of an unspoken set of rules for characters at any point in the comic book industry where everybody that was working on it sort of had a similar opinion on the character, even if they took it in a different direction? Or has it always been everybody does their own thing? Like Frank Miller does Batman this way, or do you understand what I'm asking? Or
yeah, no, because there were gatekeepers. There was when Denny O'Neil was in charge of the Bat offices. He allowed his writers and his artists to go off in their own directions, but that direction still was under his umbrella.
As an editor, or what was his job there? What would you call that to people that don't know in comics? Who would be the classic gatekeeper that's missing now who's not doing their job?
It'd be the editor, it'd be the group editor that would oversee all the books, like the group editor of all the Bat titles, the group editor of all the Superman titles, of the Justice League titles, all that kind of stuff. Those group editors used to have a lot more autonomy too. Now, or over the last 10, 15, 20 years, nothing got done at DC that didn't go up the pole, you know. Guys like the DO had the final say. They would institute some of the big crossover stuff. You know, it wasn't something that would happen within the office. Like during Nightfall, that was Denny's idea, was to do this thing. The Death of Superman, that came out of Mike Carlin's office. And it didn't go up to the top. Those guys were autonomous enough to decide that we're going to do this big thing. And in fact, neither office knew the other one was doing it at the same time, that they were doing these gigantic crossover things. So the Bat office didn't know that they were going to kill Superman. The Superman office didn't know that we were going to break Batman. It just happened that way. But there's a lot of creativity that way too, because the editors could make all the decisions for those books, hire the right people, get out of the way, give them some direction, get out of the way, and let their creativity go.
So it's kind of like assigning the right people into the hierarchy to have different levels of editorialization and creative investment, giving everybody the right amount of, you do this, you do this kind of thing, and respect, I guess.
You give them freedom, you give them support, and you let them go. If all the ideas are coming from the same source up the ladder, well, you're going to begin to see, everything looking and sounding the same, because they're all the ideas from the same source. And that's exactly what's happening in these corporate comics now, is that everything looks the same, everything sounds the same. It's just a sea of mediocrity too.
Yeah, I can see that. Just to round out my little thing, and then I'll give it back to Literature Devil. I was just curious, involving this hierarchy, the final end user, the audience. How do you think how these corporate comics have changed, and how they change and how they treat the audience? When did it start to become a little bit insulting, and then when did it really start to blame the audience for failures that weren't the audience's fault? Like, oh, you just want the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Because as a reader, I feel no responsibility necessarily for being upset that what I recognize has changed in a negative way. That kind of thing. When did what happened?
I don't know the timeline, because I stopped reading them years ago.
What was that for you, by the way?
I'm not a good person to ask about that.
When did it happen for you though? When did comics, when did you start to because I think everybody has a certain time period. Was there an era that you really enjoyed and then it just kind of tapered off, just in general?
Yeah, towards the beginning of the 2000. Well, yeah, the late 90s. I was starting to get sort of distanced from comics. My daughters at the time were young, and I was under contract with DC, and DC would send me copies of everything that they printed. And I found that I couldn't cull out books like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Aquaman, whatever, and give to my kids, because they were either too violent or overly sexualized. And so that in 1998 is when I sat down and I wrote and published my first Monster Island book, which was an all ages story, but without the pejorative a term for all ages being attached. It was more like films that were made in the 40s and 50s that were all ages, before rating systems came in, that adults could enjoy, and you could have complex subject matter and stuff like that, but kids could still read and enjoy on a completely different level. So for me, I suppose it began in the late 1990s, and then just kept going from there into the early 2000s. And then right around 2000, I got out of comics and went into newspaper strips, and stayed there for about 13 years. And then I saw that was a dead end. And then, so I transitioned back out into comics. I started getting really, so let's see, that was about 6 years ago, I think, that I got out of the strips. And that's when I started to realize that the comic books, the corporate comics, were changing, and they're changing fast. The editors were getting younger, but they didn't have the skill sets that younger editors used to have when you trained under other editors. You know, so there was no passing down. They became basically proofreaders, and poor ones at that. And didn't understand the art form of comics, the visual narrative, and the way to tell a story in that art form. And I became so sort of depressed about that. Like I would go to Barnes and Noble and look at the graphic novel section, you know, and I found that I was looking at all reprint stuff because all the new stuff was just looking horrible. It started to look like fan art. It was overcolored. It was boring looking, and there was nothing new and exciting. And
that's so funny because I feel exactly the same way. Keep going. I think
you think the discipline was lost? The discipline and the
tradition.
The tradition was lost.
It was. I mean, it became just a product to some of these people that the fan begat the fan begat the fan begat the fan, who finally made it into the business. But he didn't train under professionals. You know, he didn't train under people that understood publishing. They didn't understand the art form in itself. That they just loved comics and they wanted to do comics. And now I'm going to do my comics my way. But we're going to do them for a corporate thing so I can get a paycheck. You know,
sounds like the exact same thing that's happening in film and TV as I've seen it. You know, in my relatively short career and working in the business. It seems to be a creative issue. Yeah,
the heart and soul.
The heart and soul, and then also the idea of handing off based on merit. Like, here's an editor who's been in the wings, and then we're going to give them this, and then you get this. We've seen what you've done here. That a lot of that has been replaced by, maybe an agenda quota or whatever it is. It's annoying.
More or less.
Instead of humbling herself, she was proud of her insufficiency.
That's my favorite one.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of classic.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
From what I'm hearing, it also seems quite similar to what's been happening with Star Trek Discovery and Picard. Alex Kurtzman doesn't like Star Trek whatsoever. He just likes things like Star Wars, and he wants a dark, gritty science fiction, but he only has access to Star Trek, and he's not making his own because he wants the name recognition.
Well, Star Trek is a lot harder to write, I think.
It's not fiction either, because it's space adventure.
Yeah,
because there's no science involved in it. The original Star Trek was pure science fiction. It had, Theodore Sturgeon writing scripts and Harlan Ellison and guys who understood science fiction and the science that goes along with the fiction. Star Wars came along and it was, space fantasy.
Yeah.
There was very little science involved in it. And that's what separated Star Trek, originally. Plus, the people that wrote it understood military nomenclature and the chain of command and stuff. The thing used to drive me nuts when I saw the AJ, or what's his name, the guy who did the reboots.
JJ.
JJ Abrams. Yeah, the bridge of the Enterprise was a frat house. Everybody has an opinion.
I'm so glad I watched these movies.
And on a Navy ship, if you're a high enough officer, you might ask him a question about it, but you carry out that order. You don't debate him and say, "Oh, Captain, I don't think."
How about court-martial?
And they even covered that in the original Star Trek. There's a great episode where a guy says, "I vote we blast them," or something like that, and Kirk looks at him. He says, "I'll take that under consideration when this becomes a democracy, mister."
There we go. Now that's Kirk. Let's see here. Rocket Singles for $1.99. Why do you think Guardians of the Galaxy worked? Luck or skill? I think on that particular note, I think the first one at least, it was skill, right? Because they had some
humor too. It was a totally different kind of take on any of the Marvel movies. It was humor first, It
was humor written by people who knew what was funny instead of, oh look, quirky thing happened. Oh look, reach out with the Force. I'm gonna tickle your fingers some grass. Haha, how funny that was. No, Guardians of the Galaxy had actual humor in it, not just, oh look, that silly thing doesn't usually happen when serious things happen. Just insert funny thing into serious moment. That's really easy to do. It's really
Or,
cheap.
or like they don't do your mother jokes. It's like,
Yeah.
I've got a message for him about his mother. It's like,
Star Wars.
oh,
Yeah.
we made that joke because we wanted to tell people it's okay to laugh in this Star Wars film. It's like, what?
It was okay to laugh in the original Star Wars film. We didn't need someone to tell us to. We need Mama to hold our hands. We just don't like it. We just don't like your style. Okay.
There was no please laugh moment in the original Star Wars film.
Exactly. There was the moment where they said, to the camera, said, "All right, you can laugh now." Okay. We just don't like your style, Ryan Johnson.
What the hell's with you? You can't even write, and you think you have a style.
The dramatic music really sells it too. Oh, but we're on the topic of the idea where these people can't really create their own stuff. Now, some of them have tried, but it's absolutely failed, and so they can't really do things. They can't really succeed on their own. And one of them has come to light more recently. Now, this news came. This is old news. This first part is old news, but it's relevant to to the new news that came out today or yesterday or so. So Sci-Fi Channel, Max Mazzocchio is one of the premier hardcore SJWs with no talent. Max Mazzocchio, I've read quite a few things in my life. Max Mazzocchio takes the prize as the worst writer I had ever had the displeasure of reading, and I've read quite a few things. So that's takes the cake, okay? And not just the regular books. I'm in indie publishing too. So amateurs. I'm really big in reading amateurs. And Max Mazzocchio is by far the worst writer I have ever read. But she got her comic book that nobody read, that nobody bought. Vagrant Queen picked up by Sci-Fi Channel, and they made it into a TV show that nobody watched. So it got canceled after one season. I think it got canceled before it ended, but it's like, okay, we're just going to finish out the season, and then we'll be done with this. Max Mazzocchio is a terrible book that turned into a terrible TV series. But she was bragging about it all over social media, like, haha, you guys are just over there making your millions of dollars. I'm over here with a failing TV show.
Right.
Let's see, Rock and Sailors for $1.99. They've mistaken quirky for humor and women for men. Yeah, both right on both counts, actually. Right on both counts.
Oh, we got to represent more people. Why don't you entertain people? Why don't you stop applauding yourself?
And more wisdom from the great Caesar. So this is old news. Okay, this is old news that Vagrant Queen got canceled by Sci-Fi. We already knew it. It came out a long time ago, before it got canceled. That it was coming down the reins of the first television. The first episode was moderately okay. It was on the low side, and then from then on out, every single one of them hit cancellation levels of viewership. Every single one of them. So no one wants this. No one wanted this. It was dumb. It was terrible, and so it failed. Obviously, it failed. So when they try to do something on their own, it fails. So they have to take over other things because, as Dan Feige said, evil can only take over. It can only corrupt. It cannot create. It can only destroy.
Well, that's the point I was getting to too. Is that they just want to get into the corporate stuff and rework it their way, without having any understanding of the characters and what made them great in the first place.
I would say that it's less I honestly don't believe social justice is evil. I believe it's kind of a self-victimizing, self-brainwashing mentality. So, but the thing is, because they're so obsessed and controlled by their political beliefs, they just lack any kind of creativity. They don't think outside the box. They think in a box that they just can't write. The best way to say it, they just can't write creatively.
And you weak ass fat beard cucks who let these bitches come in here and make it unhospitable. Tell the fans that they're Nazis if they don't like their characters being destroyed.
Something like that.
Just because they lack the creativity to create something of their own, they have to go out and they have to, just take over something else.
Did he say unhospitable?
Yes, he did.
That's not a word.
Well, a live rant. Sometimes you.
It is now.
But no, but that's the thing is, and I don't like generalizing people, but anyone who's talking about inclusivity for comic books and what have you, or TV shows, will, fight tooth and nail for it to happen. But when that show actually gets released, are they going to be the ones watching it? No, they've moved off to find another project to complain about at that point.
Yeah, they're too busy complaining on Twitter to actually care enough about watching it.
That's what they want to do. They want to just write the. I think I've seen this where some of these writers, some of these SJW writers or so, they actually go to Twitter and they turn their next comic book into their latest Twitter fight, and they just make the bad guy the person they're arguing with on Twitter. It's like how they just kind of copied pasted a Trump speech and then put it into Red Skull's mouth.
Or there's Murdoch. They turned Murdoch into Trump.
Yeah, they
quite
did that.
literally.
They did this stuff. It's not exaggeration. They actually did this stuff and expected to, they got paid for their petty grievances.
You get comic book characters as a result of this, like Snowflake in Safe Space.
Yes, Safe Space. I'm pretty sad it's not coming out anymore. I wanted to get that comic book and go.
Wait, that's not coming out.
It's been put on the back burner. It's they quietly swept it under the rug last time I heard about it. Race, thank you for too. You have a separate file for EBS quotes, LD? No, I don't. It's all in the same pile of stuff. But on the note of Vagrant Queen getting canceled, almost immediately after the information, the news came down, this landed. DC writer Max Masaccio accuses Sean Gordon Murphy of love bombing, which is basically she's accusing him of grooming her.
What?
Max Masaccio, by the way, is transgender. What I assume to be a person so devoid of talent they had to put on a dress to get hired anywhere.
That's a man, baby.
It is, ma'am.
It's ma'am. Okay, give him a cigarillo.
No.
Do you understand life? Do you?
So, those two were together, I am assuming.
No. They were not ever. I don't think so. I really hope not.
But accusing him of love bombing.
Work together. Max Masaccio has tried to cancel Sean Gordon Murphy, I think at least twice, maybe 3 times.
Okay.
And this is the last attempt to try to take him down. Because Sean Gordon Murphy, as far as I've seen, is like one of the few guys in mainstream comics anymore who can actually sell a comic book.
Yeah, I remember when we kind of covered him on the stream. He has a fucking ego and a half.
Yeah. But now he tried to walk the line, tries to sit on the fence, and he's getting destroyed by it by people who say you can't sit on the fence. You have the full-blown anti-customer, full-blown anti-right wing or whatever it is. The kind of behavior that kind of led to
It's on fire! Whole thing's on fire! All of it's on fire!
That's what I'm saying. So now she's I don't know, she lost all of her attention she would have gotten from Vagrant Queen. I guess Max Masaccio was trying to ride the Vagrant Queen thing. Saying, oh look, I got a TV show, it's gonna be fantastic, I'm better than everyone else. But all that attention, all that notoriety and fame, guess what they're doing? That's what the conjecture right now is that they where comics at one point used to be the end point. Like, oh right, I finally landed my dream job. I'm at DC Comics. I'm at Marvel Comics. Now these creators are just saying, okay, Marvel Comics, DC Comics, there's another stepping stone on my way to Hollywood movies.
Well, that's because the comic book industry is now dead. There's no money in it. It's no sustainability.
Yeah, and they killed it. They're the ones who killed it. And the fact is,
What? I'm not oppressing anyone. You're oppressing yourself.
and they continue to oppress themselves and then sell you their oppression, and then they get moved up. You know how the whole thing in Star Trek where there's a bunch of mad, insane admirals, and the conjecture is that the theory is that if you have a weird captain and they fail a lot, they just kind of get boosted up. That's how Janeway became admiral. I think that's how it works here in DC and Marvel, where the harder you fail, if you're on the right politics spectrum, then you get boosted up to, I don't know, your own TV show.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, in my day, I worked for most of my editors were very, very liberal. Denny O'Neil doesn't get much more further left than Denny, with the exception of my other editor, Mike Gold, who was a Chicago leftist. And yet both of these guys were good men that understood comics and could work with people who disagreed with them, because Chuck Dixon and I are both, right-wing people, and we're proud of that, but we didn't shove that stuff in their faces, and they didn't shove it in ours, and we all had something in common. Let's create great comics.
Yeah. The creativity brought you together.
Work together.
Someone's politics shouldn't really get in the way of their creativity. You're creating a creative work. You're not here to spout your politics, but
That's
these
where
people
you're
are obsessed
wrong,
with their
'cause that's
politics.
exactly where they are.
Exactly. And the thing that's been lost in recent times is that there's more to a person than their politics. So, yeah.
No, you are your politics.
Yeah,
You
you're all your
are.
politics.
Because I disagree doesn't mean I hate you.
Exactly. That's exactly what seems to be
They
a
can't
bit
tell the
lost on a lot of these
difference.
people. But yeah, that seems to be the loss on a lot of these people. But that's exactly right. We could disagree on a lot of things, but there's more to a person than what they believe in. What they believe politically. You can still be friends. There's more to a person than that. Let's see here. Rocket Sales for $1.99. SW is the Dunning-Kruger effect made manifest. That seems to be true. I think I would agree with that actually. Botan Pansings for $4.99. He was nice to me. Yeah, I think that's what they're saying here. He was nice to me. He was Sean Gorman. He was trying to what was it? Groom Max Massaggio. That's what he's being accused of pretty much now. Marcus Sanos for $9.99. Nobody says love bombing except cultists projection. Yeah. The old quote: always accuse your enemy of which you yourself are guilty of.
Yeah, Joseph Goebbels.
There we go. The Nazi propagandist, the minister propaganda. They're taking it's kind of they're kind of evil when they take notes from the Nazis, while wanting to punch them at the same time.
Nazi.
It's Nazi.
Nazi.
Let's see here. Let's see. I got something. I thought I had something. Someone says something interesting. One second here. One second. Found it somewhere. Oh, here it is. Death Metal Hero. Max couldn't get work until after transitioning. No one cared who I was until I put on the dress. That sort of thing.
Oh God.
I actually have a question. Mr. Nolan, would you say that the darkness is your ally or that you merely adopted it?
I wouldn't say either.
I see. I knew he'd like that one.
I was born in the dark. There's a reason why everyone hates that movie. I still enjoy it, but it's not the best movie ever made. I'll say that. It's so ludicrous, but I like ludicrous. But here we go.
It's quotable. It's enough for me.
It's quotable. It absolutely is quotable. Bane is very quotable in that movie. Mainly
wasn't that the one that had Robin in it? Like kind of in it. It was what was weird to me was how they acted like Robin was going to be in it. Then like at the end, he just shuts the door behind him, and that's the end, and you never see him again.
Yeah, it's like, what's your? Oh, you should use your real name. What's
like
that?
it starts playing. Yeah, it starts playing this epic music. Robin walks by, and then the credits roll, and then you never see Robin again. It's like, where'd he go?
It's because Christopher Nolan said to have Robin in one of his movies, so he just kind of threw that in there.
Well, then don't do it. If you're not going to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah, we're fine with 2 movies without Robin. That was a whole separate universe with Batman in it.
Another thing as well is it's kind of Robin's middle name. It isn't Robin. The Christopher, the whole that whole Dark Knight trilogy. It doesn't feel like a very accurate adaptation of Batman. I don't think it's supposed to be either. They're trying to go for this realistic depiction, but then again, Batman does not live in a real world. He lives in a fictional world with magic and people who inject drugs into their veins, which are basically insane steroids.
That's why it was such an interesting experiment to give like a realistic version of Batman, what he'd be like in a real world. But that's why it's an experiment. That's why it was so good. It's because it was a break from the norm. Now you go back to the norm.
I didn't like it because it was like, oh, well, Ra's al Ghul isn't Ra's al Ghul. Oh, Bane's not Bane. Oh, that person over there, which isn't that person over there. It's a character. It's not the character It's just
pretty much. It's a good experiment. It's why you don't. But it's experiment. It's a change from the norm. That's why you don't stay there. It's the same. It's the same thing that happened with Watchmen, where Alan Moore was like, okay, we're going to do this whole thing with Watchmen. We're going to do a realistic take on superheroes, and that was it. And then we came back. He was like, "Oh, cool, we're going to do this. We'll stay this way." Watchmen was really popular. We'll stay this way. And it's like, no, you don't take a break from the norm and then just stay there. You don't go on vacation and you just stay on vacation forever. Sometimes you need to come back to work after a while. You know, I mean, and that's what happened. That's why I think it was a little damaging. I think even Alan Moore, I think, said it was damaging that people just saw the realistic take on superheroes and just stayed with it because that's not what you do. See, Death Metal Hero, thanks for the 5. Corporate comics are popular because of the movies and it's attracted bandwagon jumpers that have zero love for the medium. They are clout chasing. What do you think about that? You think with the yes or no on that one?
Who, me?
Yeah, or anyone.
I
would agree with that, actually.
Yeah, because there's been really no crossover. As popular as the Avengers movies are, they have not had a bump in Avengers comics selling.
Well, I think your boy Cecil. I'm not sure if you met Cecil yet.
Yeah, I met Cecil.
Oh, good. But he had this nice rundown on how they missed a big opportunity to sell a bunch of comics, and that was when the Avengers movies were coming out, you had Iron Man for the first time and maybe ever. You had Tony Stark, names like Tony Stark, Iron Man, Steve Rogers, and Captain America becoming household names because of these movies. And people said, "Oh, look, these are cool comic book characters. Let me go check out the comic books." And what did they go find? They found Captain America's a Nazi now. They find, oh, here's an Iron Man. Oh, it's a little teenage black girl now. Who is this? I want to go see Thor. Thor's now a woman.
Right.
What is all this? So they missed that boat.
They really did. It's actually really a shame. They could have done something with that.
There should have been a stand-up in every movie lobby.
Should have.
With the comics there that people could buy when they buy their popcorn.
Oh yeah.
And they
wow, that's what a great idea.
Yeah, there should have been a stand-up impulse rack, if you will, of comics there in every movie theater. So when those kids came out, they could walk right by it and they could buy a copy of the Avengers, even if it was like the omnibuses of the trades that told the old stories where you understood who, that was really Tony Stark, that was Don Blake or whatever. That
would have been brilliant, actually. So you have the main cast, you have Black Widow, and you have all these. Have the main cast, at least maybe the big few, maybe Captain America, Tony Stark, and maybe Thor. Their comics books at the front. And then you have, even though the parents didn't want to buy them, the kids will just force their parents to buy them at that point.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
You can have a full
comic book. To a kid that's all jazzed up about coming out of the Avengers movie and his character, his favorite guy, Iron Man or Captain America, and there it is, man. Because there's so few comic shops. Maybe this kid, can't ride his bike to one, to find a comic, and then bam, he walks out of the movie theater, it's right there.
Exactly.
They could instead of just having a stand, because I'm sure you could put a stand in a lot of cinemas, but some cinemas actually do have places which could have a full comic book shop. So you could have Marvel say, okay, we're going to invest in a comic book shop over there, over here, over there, because you could easily pay a cinema just for this little bit of space.
I was just about to say, if they would have done this, then nowadays, instead of comic books failing, by this point, they could have had a comic book shop in each Cinemark, for example. It would have become the norm by now.
Been a Marvel only comic book shop if they owned it, which meant they would have pushed DC out of I don't want to push DC out of the way because I like DC, but it probably would have also pushed DC to do something similar.
Well, really, you couldn't do that. You couldn't really put a shop in the theater because the investment in that wouldn't be worth it, because how long is that movie going to be running before they start running the next Olympia is Falling, that has no connection to Marvel whatsoever. They could only do it as a stand-up type of thing that they would pay the theater to rent the space during the showings of their films.
Yeah, well, I think at the very least they could have had a stand. And the thing is, these weren't just regular movies at the time when they were really coming out. These weren't just cool.
These were massive events.
These were huge, country-shaking, maybe even world-shaking events. So
they were consistently coming out. That's the thing.
Yeah, and so
instead the most you get is just a customized soda cup.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
they definitely would have gotten some major sales, I would think, if they had stands right there. Just okay, I'm going to see the Avengers movie. These kids were really excited. Even adults were really excited about these movies. And it's like, oh, cool, that's Thor. I want to buy a Thor comic. I'm going to go in, get my Thor comic, watch the movie, come out, read my Thor comic. It'll be perfect, perfect
And
setup.
even if it just broke even, there's the aspect of seeding the future. You know, you've got young kids. You know, you got to get them hooked on reading, A, and B, you got to get them hooked on reading your comics, because they're going to find video games and they're going to find other things. They're going to, you know, go through their teen years and drop everything anyway, chasing after girls and boys. Just like the rest of us did, and then you come back to them. But if you don't seed them in the beginning and get them interested in it so that they have some type of nostalgia to come back to it later on, you know, you're losing an entire generation. And I think that's one of the big beefs of the 90s for me, is that, you know, everything was about gimmicks and poor stories and poor drawing too, drawing for original art sales. And an entire generation left reading comics after the 90s, after that implosion. And they're not going to come back. That generation is not going to come back because they're not really going to have that nostalgic thing about, remember that story that was so great, you know, that I have and that other people have, you know, about the comics they read as kids. So that's a big mark on the industry that we're having to fight to get back.
Yeah, and you're right about seeing the future, because even there's the whole thing about pirating and everything. How people are just very concerned about pirating. Now there have been studies on this, that when a work gets pirated, even though they don't get paid on it, there is a study that confirms that people who read the free work, if they like it, if it's good, if it's relying totally on meritocracy, there's a good chance that that person who read that free work will go ahead and buy the work that they read, just to support the person that they read, and they'll continue buying the rest. So if it's a series, like you buy they pirate, I don't know, the first comic book issue of a series, the study shows that there's a good chance that they will buy the next one, and they'll buy the next one. Of course, a lot of them will just pirate everything, but there's a subsection of those people who will go ahead and buy the next one. So it actually, yeah, you're right about seeding the future. Even if it breaks even, they might have gotten a whole section of these fans into buying comics again. They could have, but they didn't.
Not just that, but I also think that pirating is inherently impractical, because usually you have to wait a large amount of time before something gets pirated. So they'll probably, just as a preview, pirate the initial comic, and then they see they like it, so they buy the new stuff that's coming out because they're still 4 volumes behind.
Exactly. I see. Rock and Sanos for the I-99.
I don't think anybody relies on pirating.
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Rock and Sanos for the I-99. Sometimes you just can't get rid of the nuclear bomb. Yeah, exactly. For Dark Knight Rises, sometimes you just can't get rid of the nuclear bomb. Sometimes you just can't. Batman had to drive away with his nuclear bomb, which was really strange. But I'm really glad that the whole scene was fine in essence, because it was Batman sacrificing himself for Gotham, which is what he would do. But sometimes you just can't get rid of it. Sometimes you just can't get rid of it. The nuclear bombs can be they can be pesky that way. And let's see, Rocket Sales for the 99. Why does DC see failure and try their best copy? I don't know. That's exactly what they're trying. They were trying to do that with the 5G, I think. They saw Marvel and say, "Oh, look, Marvel did woke stuff. They did weird woke stuff, and they're failing. We can do, I have an idea. If we go even harder with the woke stuff, surely we'll succeed." And then it just never came about. Because they can't really. Alex Haley, Richard 5. I think I don't see any text there, but thank you, Richard 5. If you send something afterwards, I'll read it. I'll try if I can see it. But thank you for that, Alex Haley. Appreciate it. So let's see here. Let's see what evil crimes did Sean Gordon Murphy commit. Okay, here it is. Alex Halo, it didn't put in my message. I didn't put in my message. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I'll look at it. Just tell me what you wanted to put there. I'll check it out. But let's see what evil crime.
I'll keep an eye on it. You can go ahead.
Appreciate it. Let's see what evil crimes that Sean Gordon Murphy was guilty of with Madeline Visaggio.
What man do?
With this perfect angel right here. Certainly a catch for anyone.
God.
So let's check it out. Let's see here. Madeline Fasaccio. That's her. Madeline Fasaccio.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Oh shit!
What is that thing?
I saw the perfect opportunity for that.
Holy Jesus!
Okay, let's see here. The DC Comics writer, creator of Vagrant Queen, Madeline Fasaccio accused Batman White Knight creator Sean Gordon Murphy of "quote unquote" love bombing. So what is that? Fassaccio's accusations come after accusation against former Batgirl writer Cameron Stewart and Netflix's Castlevania writer Warren Ellis. Everyone's just doing Me Too stuff. It's like kind of all the rage right now, literally. But this I have to alter this thing here just a little bit. Mike Fasaccio's accusations came right after not really accusations from other people, but right after her show got canceled. How strange is that? Have you Graham Nolan? Have you read Sean Gordon Murphy's White Knight? I think
I have not. No.
I read the first issue. I think a long time ago. It was fine. It wasn't anything that shocked me or awed me. But in today's comic book landscape, I think it's like above and beyond anything anyone has ever done recently, anyway. Because it's okay. The merit of being okay, it's better. It's head and shoulders above the rest of what you see these days.
I like his art. I'll say that much.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think there's a reason why they gave Sean Gordon Murphy's own what they call now the Murphyverse. So, because he can actually sell comics as opposed to Madeline Fasaccio, who basically, if she sold her comic book as toilet paper, they would make more money. And I don't even think I'm joking on that.
Well, there's a big industry for toilet paper right now.
Yeah, the big industry. See, record sales for $1.99, more like a catch and release, if you get my drift. I do, certainly do. Sketch therapy, welcome sketch therapy. Schmoozing, I think that was the crime. Schmoozing, yeah. He was being.
There you go. Alex Halo posted his thing.
Let's see. Okay, there it is. Okay, I'll read this first. Verde, I think we should 5. Yeah, totally a catch if you hadn't laid down a bear trap. Oh. Wow. Naughty. Trash being naughty today. Space Junk, Vagrant Queen looks really cheap also. Yeah, it looks really cheap. Like the date Max Versace probably is. Alex Halo. So you can get manga anywhere in Japan, especially in Akihabara, which is like a city-sized mall. Wow, that's incredible. And that only sell otaku goods, has otaku cafe, etc. Okay, maybe I won't go there, but I'm pretty sure. No. If I ever visit Japan, I'll probably go over there. But yeah, it sounds interesting. As a city-sized mall, that's ridiculous.
That's fantastic. Apparently, they also have like arcades at every street corner. It's like their version of Starbucks.
Yeah, it's fascinating and disturbing at the same time. It's really intriguing.
Like where in England, you can't turn a corner without seeing a fish and chip shop.
Yeah, well, fish and chips are delicious.
I know.
I like them.
Anyone who fucking disagrees, I will murder you.
Drake the Duelist said something that I like. People use pirating because the free sample concept died. There is a culture of mistrust in the market that new stuff will be bad. Funny, Graham Nolan doesn't do that. I was just on his website. There's previews everywhere. It gives you a nice healthy dose of it so you can give them all your money.
Yeah.
Well, you see, another problem is sometimes they're not available for you in your country. Looks over at Disney Plus as they release Clone Wars in America and not over here for like how many months.
Yep.
If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
Oh, I'll pirate your book.
That's a nice blast from the past there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing because they used to have like demos for games before they came out, so you can test it out. Now they have if you go to Amazon, you can opt into actually allowing the people to get a preview, so they can you get the first few pages or so of a book that you're trying to sell, and that works really well. It works really well, I think. That's why.
That's in your opinion.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's subjective.
It's your opinion, man. But you get free previews and stuff. I think free previews are important Let's see here. Tyler Preston, thank you much for the 5. Spoiler alert: Tug is actually Dr. Alpha, criminal mastermind, according to the big brains on Kiwi Farm. Oh, so yeah, Tug is like this international wanted criminal that's supported by Interpol and stuff, and that he's wanted all over the world. So that's the new unironic narrative that's going around for that umbrella guy. He's an international. He's a literal supervillain. He's more supervillain than like Malionopolis is or something. So he's actually wanted. He's a criminal mastermind. He's like basically a Bond villain now, like a real life Bond villain. That's what they paint him out to be. He's a Bond villain. I can't wait for that umbrella guy to get like a volcano base or something. That'll just tie it all together perfectly. It's fantastic. The crazy stuff that they come up with for that umbrella guy. It's wonderful. So the accusations against Murphy were made in a lengthy Twitter thread. Max Vizaccio began, I don't want to get into the whole thing. I bet you don't, because that would actually require you to give evidence and stuff. Think about what happened between me and Sean Murphy. Sean Vizaccio's talking. I don't want to get into the whole thing about what happened between me and Sean Gordon Murphy. I've covered that already elsewhere. It's draining to recount, but I need to categorically state that, because that would be actionable. Can't say that. He could actually sue you for that.
Serene Forge works. I'm a Star Wars / Trek fan. My condolences.
Oh, that is especially since
my
I'm a Star Wars Trek fan. Yeah, I'm more of a Trek fan than a Star Wars fan, but I get the pain. I can name that. I've seen the card. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I honestly think that Trek got it worse than Wars, which is a lot coming from me.
No, I think that they got it. They both got it pretty bad. I mean, Star Wars got The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker and Star Wars Resistance.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Star Trek.
I think that's going to be contingent on whatever you like more. But they're both equal.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Fucked, because it's kind of like I don't think Star Trek Discovery is.
Yeah, you're only thinking about that. Think about it this way. Hold on a second. So. In the movies, they go back in time to interfere with the timeline that already existed. So they do like a loop all the way back to Kirk and Picard.
Oh, I was thinking more along the lines of the TV shows than the movies.
Right. What I'm explaining is that as a writer,
TV shows are much worse than the films.
They haven't been able to. What they've done is they've destroyed the continuity of each of their their prequels or sequels. They could have picked up where they wanted to leave off. And instead they made Picard and they basically killed it off. And now they're doing stuff with introducing Kirk and Spock again and doing this Ouroboros eating its own tail thing. So it's just like The Last Jedi, where they've basically destroyed the entire schemata. They don't follow the writer's guide that Roddenberry made. They have they have this thing called a spore network or a spore drive or whatever that can
it can travel instantly anywhere.
Right, so it's like they've obliterated it, and I think is a common pattern across everything. I don't know what's really held up to me. Maybe Back to the Future, because they haven't made any new stuff.
Star Trek died in 1973 with the animated series. That was the last time Star Trek was canon for me. They had all the original writers writing those episodes. Unlimited budget. It was animated cheaply, but still the stories were really solid in a lot of them. And then by the time 1979 comes around, they do the Star Trek the Motion Picture. They changed everything. They took everybody's character away and bored it up. And then by Wrath of Khan, they gave everybody their space fat suits. And I was done.
Yeah, as far as I heard, they really destroyed that movie when they did the reboots. Even though Khan was played by Sherlock. It was still led by J.J. Abrams. I mean, how good could it be?
Right.
That was horrible.
Back to the original question of what got it worse. I generally think that while Discovery and Picard are bad, it's more due to the fact that it's not Star Trek. Like if this was if it was a generic sci-fi and anything else, it probably would be relatively fine. It's just a show which no one would really watch.
Mm-hmm.
But if you did the same to The Last Jedi, I probably can't say that either, because both. No, fuck it. I'll say actually, if you turn The Last Jedi and Star Trek Discovery into their own things and not be a part of any existing IP, they'd probably Discovery would probably be worse actually.
They're
I
both
take that back.
they're both awful. They're both made by like similar people, like almost the same production company. You know, you have Kurtzman and J.J. Abrams. It's like all the same thing now. So it's kind of a distinction without a difference for me.
Kurtzman worked with J.J. Abrams.
The thing is, I think that The Last Jedi is kind of the Matt Visaggio of movies. It's horrible, like the worst thing ever made. In fact, the Last Jedi, I think, is being taught in schools as to how not to make a movie.
I saw that guy. Yeah, there's a professor that teaches.
Yeah.
What is interesting to me?
How to shit on a franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, shoot! I had something that I was.
I just imagine
I'll remember.
the professor's like a really big fan of Star Wars, and he's like, "Okay, right, kids."
There needs to be something set in motion to protect these works, because I mean, here you have an opportunity to read a guide written by the deceased creator, and you don't follow it.
Well, I mean, here's a question that I have, Graham. Do you think that some of these things should end? Do you think that stories should, as somebody that writes for the comic, or writes and draws for comic books, like, do you think that these things should stay serialized, or do you think that things can run the course? Like, I wouldn't want another season of Star Trek, the original series, necessarily, even though I like the animated series, that kind of thing. But after some of these shows have told a lot of stories, is there anything left to tell?
I agree. I think things should end. Who wants to see a sequel to Casablanca?
Oh no, not me.
I mean, I don't want to know what happened afterwards. It's just enough to know that they walked away.
That's part of the magic.
It's part of the magic. As soon as you start exploring all that stuff, you water down what made it great in the first place. In fact, it's funny you mention this, because the whole point of my publishing company, Compass Comics, which I'm doing the Chenu under, is to do standalone stories that I want to tell. There's not going to be a sequel to the Chenu, because I'm telling everything I want to say here, and it's going to be really cool. And then my next project is another standalone story, and it's just I'm just concentrating on really great stories that don't necessarily have to be serialized or have to be done as a continuity series. I'm thinking of them as standalone movies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Kind of like what the Halloween series was originally supposed to be. Where it wasn't supposed to be just Michael Myers' series. It was supposed to be, every movie was supposed to be like a different story. It's why we have like Halloween 3, which was about masks and stuff. And
Season of the Witch. Yeah,
Season of the Witch. That's it. That's why that was kind of confusing. People got confused because where's Michael Myers? It's Halloween, Halloween. But the thing is, Halloween was supposed to be like a series of movies based on different scary events.
I watched a documentary about that, actually.
Oh, Season of the Witch or the Halloween?
About the whole series
of
that whole outlash. You know what else it is, Graham? It's how not only is it that it ruins the beauty of it, but it also sometimes it can get so specific and weird. Force Awakens, that it just enters fan fiction territory.
Right. Sometimes you don't need to know all the backstory. It's just enough. You have just enough in a great story for the reader to move through it. You don't have to go back and ad nauseum keep adding and adding and adding.
Yeah, the thing about entertainment is that when you release it to the public, it's a two-way street. Okay, it becomes like a two-way. The audience participates. The writer writes it. The author creates it. The audience, they invest into it. They invest time, money, entertainment, emotion, what have you. So it's a two-way road there. It's give and take. And when you have that, it's you got to leave enough there so that the audience can potentially participate. Like if you leave in some ambiguity in there, it's fun for the audience members to fill in the gaps themselves. It's a lot of fun. I know, because I do it myself. It's a lot of fun.
Sure.
And you kind of take away the fun when you start explaining all the minutia for no reason. Now, I understand explaining like the details if you can tie it into a overscaling narrative, because that's what the audience really wants. They want big stories, they want narratives, they want really interesting things to go into the story. But if you just starting to explain things for no reason, you're taking away part of the fun from the audience.
You know what I think is really cool is and I just rewatched all of these, the original Planet of the Apes movies. Some of them aren't great,
Oh
but
yeah.
there's a thread that runs through them, that they're, each one of them is a standalone film that you don't need the others for, because they give you enough information in each one to get you through it.
Yeah,
But
they do.
they also reference stuff and characters from the other movies. And here's the really cool thing that I realized from this thing, and they didn't have to hit you over the head with it. It's what you talked about, where you said that you fill in the blanks, right? So this is a time paradox story that is just amazing. Taylor and Landon and Dodge land on the Planet of the Apes in the future, right? And we find out what happens, and then at the end,
Blew it all up.
beneath, Taylor blows up the Earth.
Yeah.
But not before Zira and Cornelius and Dr. Milo get into his spaceship and go back into time. Now they've gone back into time and they're changing something. They give birth to baby Milo, who becomes Caesar. Caesar grows up and gives rise to the Planet of the Apes. He has the apes rebel, and they take control over the people. They blow up again the city and everything, and now you got mutants and stuff. But by the end of Battle for the Planet of the apes and the humans are now living in harmony together. So when George Taylor arrives in the future, he arrives at a Planet of the Apes that has humans and apes as equals. So Taylor, Dodge, and Landon end up living.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I used to love those movies a lot.
Yeah.
Lot.
Think about it. I mean, that's something they don't hit you over the head with, but as soon as you start thinking about it,
it's there. You can connect it. You can watch them by themselves, and you can have them in a connected series. You can do either one, and that's really interesting how they did that with the Zira and the Cornelius and Dr. Milo and that one, because you would think that you really need to watch the previous movies to understand what's going on, but they give you enough information, enough leeway that you can just fill in the blanks on your own. You don't actually need to know every single detail.
Yeah, and they're so 70s dark too. Everyone, when you get to the last, I mean, in Escape, they're shooting a baby, for God's sake.
Yeah. A baby dies. They shoot the baby and they toss
shoot
it.
the bullets going into it, It's like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
I think you see that these days.
Yeah. Somebody would be marching on that movie theater if they showed that.
Yeah. Zero Cantinos for the I-99. All you stop before you give them ideas. Oh, you gave these weirdos ideas. They'll take it and actually do it. Make things worse.
So one of the things I kind of want to address that Glib and Graham, you were saying about a second ago. So when you were saying, oh, do you believe that films should have sequels, essentially, that they should end? I agree that at one point that they should end. They shouldn't just
It was
keep
more
going
about
forever
stories.
because stories.
Just stories in general.
Yeah. So I meant so you don't believe that we should have sequels, because I kind of believe it's more down to how the story is being written. Obviously, you can write a story that you don't want to continue and it ends there, but some stories allow for you to make a sequel, and you don't think they should.
I didn't say there shouldn't be sequels. I just say there are some movies that don't need them. Alien was a great movie, but I love Aliens because it took it into a different direction instead of just repeating what it did before. But then you have Alien 3. Should have a sequel there, because they just undermined and ruined everything happened in the first two. So
It's at what point? It's at what point you want to give up on Ellen Ripley going any further in front of the audience? To me, there's a good Orson Welles quote, I think, where he says, and I'm paraphrasing here. He says, "Every story has a sad ending unless you end it before the true end," which is basically like, every character dies eventually. So unless your character is going to live forever, then the story has to end, or the story is not about the main character anymore, and it becomes about this larger thing. And then you get to this sort of meta canon thing. And one of the special things about comic books is that we've explored that in so many different ways, about what ifs and alternate timelines, alternate planets, alternate dimensions. And what has remained is what is essential, I think, to the characters. Like Peter Parker loses Uncle Ben is pretty much a consistent part of Spider-Man's story being told. But The modern problem is, let's say we're going to make a Spider-Man movie. How many times do we want to see the same thing again? How much does the audience know? Because so many generations have seen almost the same story told a million different ways.
Right.
So when it's iterative, it's interesting. But at the same time, what I'm trying to get at is my example would be something like Watchmen, where it's Alan Moore, it's the beginning, middle, and an end, and then there's an implication at the end about Rorschach's journal and everything that's going to happen next. However, I don't like any of the prequels or sequels, and they seem to be lesser products. I don't like it in general when an author passes away or is finished with a product and somebody lesser tries to take over for them. I see that way too frequently.
I agree with that. Yeah, once the author,
it's even worse when it's corporate. That was
So you think that once the original creator is done with telling the story they want to tell, then it should be left?
Mostly, but then you have something like Alien, which is the perfect anomaly. It's the counter. If you can do an Aliens, then you're doing great. But how far you can stretch that is something that's more difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of because for every Aliens, there's
Alien 3.
Yeah, there's an Alien 3.
You take a
There's
big
for
risk
every
when you-
aliens, there's 27 Alien 3s.
And there's
you
not
take a
necessarily
huge risk when you get an original and then you bring it out again, especially if you've ended it well the last time, and then you bring it out again. You are taking a risk every single time because, you know, you there are films out there that are like lightning in a bottle, and that can't always be recaptured, especially if you hand it to an entirely different team that have an entirely different idea of what the thing should be and how it became good in the first place. So it's a huge risk if you take a great film and say, hey, we're going to do another one because it was successful. It's like, are we sure we want to go down that path?
The same creator as well might not always make a great addition, because we've seen Alien Covenant and we've seen Prometheus. There's also these things called the Star Wars prequels. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No.
There's also
The prequels. I don't think the prequels is a fair example because at least the idea was good and it opened the door to Clone Wars.
But I was still kind of saying the original creator can slip up, and there was something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember another example of the original creator fucking up, and I'm escaping me now.
Oh, here's one thing about you mentioned Origins earlier, or Glib mentioned Origins earlier, where how many times do we have to rewatch Batman's parents getting killed? How many times do we have to rewatch, the Uncle Ben getting murdered or whatever? It's gonna be an obsession with superhero movies where they think they have to tell us the origins first or something like that. Fortunately, we kind of gotten out of that.
I think it's because they kind of view themselves as being sort of like viewed in isolation. They don't expect you to watch other Batman films before you come in and watch this new Batman vs Superman.
Right. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about that one is that if you read the series Lone Wolf and Cub, the manga series, it doesn't start off with his background. It doesn't start off with his origin, why he's like this wandering assassin samurai, or why he's so good or anything like that. The first few stories in Lone Wolf and Cub are him just taking a contract and fulfilling it. It's just the first few of them. It's just a few stories about him fulfilling assassination contracts. And then after a while, I think it's down to the second volume maybe, that we start getting hints as to what actually happened, what led to this life of his. And we don't even get it in order. It's like here's one part of that what happened. Okay, we're back to the present. Then later on we get, okay, there's another part of that happened. And maybe you kind of over the time you just kind of put it together. So what I'm saying is that maybe it's not necessary for you to have explain the origins immediately. But it's going to be a series.
It's not specifically when you're dealing with iconic characters like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. I mean, one of the few things I got right in The Legend of Tarzan was everybody on the planet knows who Tarzan is. They didn't have to do the whole movie about how he got to be Tarzan. They just kind of touched on it in little flashback sequences to bring some of those people out in the boondocks that never heard of him up to speed. But the story wasn't about the origin of Tarzan. It was about, this other stupid story. But I think they got it right, because everybody knows Superman came from the exploded planet Krypton. Everybody knows Batman parents got killed. And now everybody knows Spider-Man too.
Yeah, what would you, how it's? I think it's interesting too that they just wait on even if it's a brand new character, you just wait on the origin until it's more narratively relevant, rather than just
Right.
okay, here's
Tease.
yeah, or, rather than just something we have to get through in the narrative. Okay, fine, if we have to go to this part first before we get to the actual story. No, how about what if we didn't have the whole scene in Man of Steel, for example, where where the whole thing is blowing up. Oh no, we got to send Clark Kent off into space. What if we just saw Superman doing his thing, and then Zod appears, and then we get to, and then because of their exchange, because of their clash, we see someone who is just as strong as Superman, and then that gets us asking, well, how is he as strong as Superman? What's going on here? Then we get the backstory, because then
Right.
we're interested.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I see a lot is that the successful films are the origin stories ones because becoming a hero is such a popular tale. And then there's a drop off with the sequel thing where they have to create a character or select one that is going to expand the character or take him to a darker place or that kind of thing. And I've seen Hollywood have a little bit of trouble with that, which is why we see the same thing over and over again. But I don't know. My entire problem with the that whole just the idea of the MCU and the DCEU becoming sort of a replacement on a
I
bigger scale for comics is that I don't feel like the comics are being replenished. Like we're not getting new characters that once people that are film fans are bored with Superman or Batman or whatever, they've seen 20 different Spider-Man movies, they're going to move to another comic book character, or are they going to move on to an entirely new genre at that point because we don't have that replacement ready at Marvel or DC. We don't have the next Spider-Man or the next Batman or whatever. Even though you could have 20 of them. That's what Comicsgate is about, and that's why I'm enjoying it. And
No,
I worry about film because of that.
just because you're bringing up the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think that is a good example of something which I think should end now. There's no need to continue this story any longer, especially since you've now gone to the height of the stakes you could possibly go to, the entirety of existence, almost getting snapped out if they didn't win, and losing half their heroes, and even the main heroes now are either retired or dead. So it's why we don't need to continue this. I don't think many people are even going to be interested in it past this point.
That to me is because it's funny to me because I know a lot of people that like the MCU but are not necessarily comic book fans, and I've been
Mhm.
reminding people, and this was amazing to see recently. Like DC would have their Infinite Crisis or their Crisis on Infinite Earths, or you'd have a Civil War situation. You'd have a big crossover event to end a certain run, and then you reboot the entire series. Comic books has done it multiple times, and film is going to eventually have to do that. And I don't know if nobody was looking forward to that, and we haven't quite hit that point, but we will when there's going to have to be either a new version of the same characters or they're going to have to come up with something else. And I think that that's going to start to be the mainstream MCU comic book movie conversation in the next 2 to 5 years or whatever. Is what do we do now? Because we already did the thing. We took all of the best known stories and made the stories, and now what are we going to do? Pay the actors exorbitant fees to come back? Or are we going to create new characters that are all SJWized? Or are we going to go into Moon Knight and Darkhawk? Even though I like them, I'm part of the 200,000 whatever subscribers or readers that actually want to do it, as opposed to people that are just generic, comic fans that are like, oh yeah, Hulk, that's the big guy, he punches something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then they
I
watch the
think
movie.
that's exactly where they're going to go because they've already established a Marvel universe, and now all you got to do, you can roll out your B and C and even D level characters just under that banner, and you get a decent writer on it to bump them up. And I mean, look at the Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a shit comic. It never sold. Nobody cared about it.
Yeah, people like to revise that. I'm glad you point that out. I remember Guardians of the Galaxy was like a throwaway, and they turned it into something. That's
and Ant-Man too.
Iron Man was a B-list character originally.
Yeah, Iron Man. Nobody bought that comic for years, even though he was an important and integral part of the Avengers and the Marvel mythology in the comics. He was still a B-list guy.
Did you notice that they didn't even bother to put Nova in there in the Nova Corps with the Guardians of the Galaxy and everything? I was like, wow, I'm waiting for the character for the namesake to show up, but I think at that point it was too secondary to put that character in.
Right.
Now it seems like they're going to have to do that kind of thing if they want to continue.
Yeah, I mean, they could roll out Brother Voodoo. There's a whole lot of B and C list characters with a good screenplay could under the banner of Marvel films will be huge hits.
Well, this is why I think it's a perfect opportunity for DC to go, okay, forget about the DCEU. We're gonna do our version of now it's our turn. Now we can do, and they can actually seriously do another what they intended in 2008, which is make the Nolan verse expand outwards into their other things, or they could reboot it. But I think that the problem is that a lot of the Marvel and the MCU, the people that were in charge of it on a producer level were very familiar with television. So those movies feel to me very like television, a little bit flat, not too cinematic in comparison to some of the other films that we've seen that are non-superhero films. And I don't think that anybody at WB or DC is really paying attention to all right, this is how we're going to adapt comic books into a consistent aesthetic. Right now, it's all super dark for some reason, but it's also supposed to be extra goofy when you have Harley Quinn or something. And I don't think that that's actually what DC Comics is about. I don't think that I think in my experience as a reader, and you can tell me what you think about this, I think of the different cities and which heroes and villains are there as sort of being like the set that everything fills in. So Gotham is specific to Batman and those sorts of villains, and Metropolis is a different aesthetic entirely. They don't sort of overlap unless the comics are crossovers. So do you think that it would be that they could do something that would be like a television adaptation of that would lead to Justice League, or do you think that that's inherently going to be difficult for them to realize into oh yeah, live action people, we have Flash, we have Superman and Batman, how are we going to make all these different power levels work together? I've always seen that as a problem.
I think that the DC universe begins and ends with Superman, and until they get that right, they've got the perfect actor. They couldn't have found a better guy to play Superman, but they've given him horrible scripts.
Yeah.
They give him nothing to do. They don't explore who he is as a hero. It's just been. I feel so bad for Henry Cavill, because I mean, here he is. He wants to do this. He looks fantastic. He looks like he walked right out of the comic book, and they don't give him anything to do. And I think that they really have got to get that next Superman movie, and they got to nail it before they can expand on anything else. Because I think, like I said, DC universe begins and ends with him.
Very cool. So, okay, I see what you could do there.
Sounds like what you're saying is they can't get the puzzle right if they can't finish crafting the pieces properly.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, you got the puzzle right there, and you want to have to cut the die cuts out of it, and you've got a busted machine.
they can continuously giving Superman to people who have no idea who Superman is. They don't understand.
Sorry, man, that's a little bit too loud.
I didn't even hear what you said.
But here's the thing:
Zack Snyder.
Yeah, Zack Snyder. Exactly. He has no idea. He's like the opposite spectrum. If there's one side of the spectrum of people who know how to write Superman, Zack Snyder would be on the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
He's dark and gritty, brooding.
His Superman is Frank Miller's Superman. Just like his Batman is Frank Miller's Batman. He's like living on the altar of Frank Miller. And I'll tell you, I think, Frank Miller's Dark Knight was groundbreaking when it came out, but it wasn't meant to be canon. And what everybody's doing is grabbing onto the dark parts of that at the expense of the light parts, of the night parts, KNIGHT, Batman is an errant knight on a holy crusade. And that's where his heroism comes from. He's not a nihilist narcissist, which is what Frank Miller turned him into and what everybody has been doing with him since. There's nothing heroic about this guy if he's doing it just for himself and to ease his own pain.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Very good.
I also I think that the iterations of Frank Miller are also sort of taking him out of his out of order. So when I saw Batman versus Superman was going to be related to Dark Knight Returns, I went, why are they starting with kind of what at the time I feel like was supposed to be Frank Miller saying this is how Batman's future would be sent as a send off. This all culminates into this horrible situation, and then that's the sequel to Batman. Year One. Where, like we move Batman through Frank Miller's iterations of himself, and I actually agree with what you're saying. I like the idea that it's his own little timeline, and that it's distinct from the other types of things because it's not the only Batman game in town. But I think also that there is a complete lack of detective work in these films too. Like
Yeah.
Batman, one of my favorite. I love the Batman Black and White series and how everybody has different takes on it. And I don't remember which writer it was, but there was one where he was going up against Clayface in a museum, and it was just very detail oriented descriptions of what Bruce was thinking as he was trying to get through the maze of the museum. Like he has to flip this much and he has to do this technique, and he's thinking about all the options that are available to him, and I felt immersed in his character, whereas some of the other interpretations are right like in your on the nose and in your face, like, oh, here's Batman, it's the bad guy, he's gonna fight, and
Right.
I'm gonna try and kill the Batman, I'll be the one guy to kill the Batman. Like you can take it in different directions, but I think you guys pretty much enumerated it on it.
And since we're on the topic of superhero movies, KH and Wish for the Two, think the Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man. What do you think about that one?
Spider-Man 2 by Raimi was excellent. I thought with Dr. Octopus, I really liked that one a lot.
I like it too. It reminds me kind of the 60s Spider-Man a little bit, but set in the 90s. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. My favorite Spider-Man, because that was what I was collecting when I was a kid, was the Mark Bagley run, the early 90s one, because it was just such a saturation of Spider-Man. And so I was enjoying the Amazing Spider-Man, the way that the character seemed to have a lot of, there was a lot of personal characterization to it. And I liked that this character has been, we've been able to get different aspects of his life. Like he's been in high school, he's been married before, he's done all these different things, and there's different versions of this Spider-Man. So I think that I got the most amount of enjoyment out of the animated one, the Into the Spider-Verse or whatever it is, because I liked that I was recognizing different takes on Spider-Man by different people and seeing them interact. So it tickled me in the right way. But I don't know. I think Spider-Man 2 is probably the best one that we've had so far. I don't know if I love any of them. I like them.
I agree.
And see here,
Well, Dan, I'm gonna have to run. I gotta take my Jeep in for a brake job. So
awesome,
excellent.
I suppose just to kind of, sorry, I don't want to keep you here. I was mainly just going to expand upon what you were saying about the Zack Snyder Batman being the Dark Knight Batman, because I don't believe that's true.
All right. Well, we can go on about that in a second. But is there anything else that Mr. Nolan that you would like to say about your comic book? Anything to the fans to best chat?
Yeah, I would just suggest that maybe you guys go check out the Indiegogo site. We've got 4 days left. We're just about to hit the $50,000 stretch goal, which means it'll be a foil stamp. But as it is right now, all the other stretch goals have been hit. So you're going to get your name listed in the comic. You're going to get a trading card. You're getting the sticker. You're getting the bookmark. You're getting 8 more pages of story content. I'm going to do a short story about the Chinook coming in the 1977 blizzard, which I'll tell you it ends in the ending is terrifying and heartbreaking at the same time.
That sounds good.
So there's all these really cool perks that you're already getting for whatever investment level you want to go into at no extra charge. And if we hit the 50,000 with your help, you're going to get the foil stamp on the cover as well. So, I just ask everybody to take a look, and if you can support it, I'd appreciate it.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I just want to say as a final thing, I love the shading, and the pencil work is great, man. So I can't wait to read it.
Really important. Is it going to go into demand after the time is done, or is it that's it?
Yes, it'll go into demand.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Excellent.
That's a good thing to know. If someone wants to be a potential backer, maybe they can't afford it in the next 4 days or so, or maybe they're waiting for the paycheck or whatever.
Right.
So that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Awesome.
Well, I
Awesome.
want to thank all you guys. I had a great conversation today. It was a lot of
Awesome.
fun.
Well, appreciate
Thank
you coming
you,
on.
yeah.
And I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. It's
Nice
going to
speaking
cost
with
me money. I got to get brakes on my Jeep and new tires.
Yeah, those are important.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you.
All right.
Have a good
You
one.
too.
Around.
Bye bye.
Awesome. All right. Just us now. Just us. Just us and Best Chat.
Oh, God, thank God he's got. Oh, it was terrible.
Let's
Really
hear,
smelly. Smelled like Bane.
like Bane. Let's see here. Rocket Sailors for $1.99. We have reached peak homage. The cow is dead. Yeah, we launched that cow. Yeah, that seems to be the trajectory we're going with. It's just no longer installments of the previous franchises. Now it's just the fans have taken over. No, not even the fans, like the wrong kind. People who are not even fans. People who have just I guess heard about the franchises they're running, and this basically made a show off of that.
Kurtzman.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like if somebody tried to lecture you on, I don't know, maybe the law or something to a lawyer. It's basically so after they read Wikipedia. Like if someone like I don't know, maybe some guy named, I don't know, Sean or Shane or whatever. This name it picked out of the hat. Maybe his name is Shane, and he tried to lecture a lawyer who actually went to law school and everything after he just read a few Wikipedia articles. It'd be like that. It'd be like that. Somebody who never was a fan, who maybe even actively hates the franchise, trying to tell us, the fans, how to feel and what to love, and how Star Wars actually is. They're trying to tell us how Star Trek actually is. Trying to tell us how
Yes.
Star Wars actually is.
Don't
When
listen to
never been a
them.
fan. Yeah,
Listen to us. Only we can tell you what to think.
only us. Only us.
Trust us and give us all your money. You are not cultists. Trust us.
Yeah, one mind. One mind.
One mind, one woke agenda.
There's some good news for everybody. This article came out today about Doctor Who.
Before we expand, so one thing I just wanted to kind of say is I don't really agree with what was mentioned before of that was it the Zack Snyder Batman being the Dark Knight Batman. While it is obviously inspired, I think even the Dark Knight Batman doesn't go as far as Zack Snyder's does. It's like Zack Snyder has taken the
What? You're talking about Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah, the
Dark Knight Returns is way, way cooler and way more violent than Zack Snyder is.
no, it's not murdering people. He's not using guns.
No, but he's way cooler. He like beats people with his hands instead. He beats a dude up to prove his dominance as a man.
Yeah, he does.
It's awesome.
Savage hand.
But thing is, I don't really. Yeah, I was just saying that. I don't agree that Zack Snyder's Batman is Dark Knight Returns.
Well, he copied it. And I co-sign what Graham was saying, because to 300, the movie is a Frank Miller comic. So it's clear that one of the biggest comic book influences for Zack Snyder is Frank Miller. And I'm extremely jealous that this man got to make Frank Miller movies and Alan Moore movies. And he's in charge of the aesthetic of the DCEU, and he's getting it wrong for everybody. It's like, wow.
He's watching movies wrong.
He's reproducing comic books into films wrong. And the only reason why people are still going along with it is because A, he makes a bunch of money and has a built-in fan group, and B, because 300 was a big success.
Yeah, pretty much. 300 was a good movie. I like it a lot.
I've never been crazy about Batman killing people. That's the thing. Batman doesn't kill people.
Well, Batman used to kill people. It's the same thing that look, it's like what? Okay, so we have The Last Jedi. Remember, Luke Skywalker's like, "What am I gonna do? Go out there with a laser sword?" That is clearly referenced by Anakin in the first movie when he knows nothing about it. So, yeah, I could say, "Oh, laser sword." Lightsabers have been called laser swords in Star Wars before, and Batman has killed before in 1935. You know what I mean? And then certain people have made him kill, that sort of thing. And the whole point of Dark Knight Returns was that Batman's trying to kill Superman. Superman doesn't want to do it, and Batman is only trying to prove a point that he can do it because he's a human being, and Superman is sort of a god, and Batman thinks that it's all gone to his head. So Batman is trying to remind Superman that he's not invincible, and that he's a human
Oh, I
being.
thought The Dark
at the end
Knight
of it.
Returns was good. It's just
is.
let me articulate myself a bit
Yeah,
better.
but on
I
that
thought
note,
The Dark Knight Returns was good. It's just that when you're entering the cinematic universe, that's when I think the work should be more grounded. You can have comics where he kills people. I don't think you should have movies where he kills people.
No,
No, but
what I'm saying is
doesn't
it's an
kill people in
anomaly.
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
He nearly kills the Joker because he loses control, and then the Joker kills himself, framing Batman
to finish the job.
Right.
Yeah,
what were you saying, Literature Devil?
Oh, and on that note, I think since you're talking about Dark Knight Returns, maybe that's a good movie to watch on movie night.
Dark Knight Rises or
Dark Knight Returns. It's an animated.
Oh, the animated version. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have trouble with the
I actually
animated
have that
stuff 'cause
movie.
they abridge it.
Actually,
I have it
movie in
on
digital
Amazon
format. So we can watch it. I think that'd be good. I think a good candidate. I think.
I don't
Sounds good.
remember the whole idea that Batman doesn't kill people. I don't know where that came from because I don't think that's even true.
When they removed his gun.
In loads of incarnations.
They took away. He used to be a detective where he had a gun and everything, and when they took away his gun, they also took away his killing thing because it
there
was part of
was-
the Comics Authority.
Yeah, there was a group of people who were trying to, because obviously kids were reading this. They were like, "Oh, we don't want violence in our comics," so to kind of like back away from that, they were like, "Okay, Batman doesn't use a gun anymore," and then it kind of expanded to other material where, when it dug deeper into the character of Batman, they really said, "Okay, so the reason why he does all this is to kind of stop anyone else from losing their parents." And it's like, okay, so why would he actively go out and kill people who would have families, who might have kids, and do to them what he just did? What do to them what happened to him, essentially? Because any of these criminals could have parents, they could have kids. It's like, why put someone through that pain? Why even use a gun, the weapon which he should, hate for being responsible for the death of his parents?
Well, there's like there was a whole movement in the post World War II era where they had the Hays Code. Oh, it was also earlier than that too, from like the 19th. But then the Comics Code Authority and the MPPC were both really, and the MPAA is still around, but they were trying to censor everything based on moral reasons. So they were constantly undermining noir stories and pulp stories and all that kind of stuff. It was a censorship thing, but that's no longer relevant. But what happened was this kind of thinking has changed Batman and Superman's character, I think, in a positive way, because now if they're not killing people, then it produces a creative result. So when people are saying, they're making the argument all the time with Man of Steel, what is he supposed to do with Zod besides snap his neck? I'm like, well, that's just uncreative. What?
A hero doesn't break the law. A hero doesn't murder people.
Well, some do, but that's the thing, is that it's that certain characters are given more moral superiority over others because they don't kill, because they find a way to not do it, because it's all about justice.
Yeah.
But certain characters which we like that are the anti-hero characters are the ones that do kill, like Punisher or Wolverine, and it's really just different personalities, and it's really different like age groups that are reading these things. It's when I started to go away from Spider-Man was when I was going through like puberty, and I wanted to watch Punisher shoot a bunch of Russian gangsters up instead of Spider-Man catch the bad guy. It was just different moods. But now I understand, and it was great to talk to Graham, because you can see when he had his kids, he realized when he wanted to share comic books and introduce them and stuff, there was a lack of new content that was family oriented. And I think that Star Wars, for example, and the blockbuster of that era was a revival. It was like creating that same thing again. There wasn't fun in science fiction, really. It was 2001 was the coolest thing ever, and then Star Wars brought back fantasy.
I've never understood the criticism. Batman doesn't kill people. It's like, this incarnation does. So what?
Because it's kind of damaging to the
I get the
integral
idea
idea of the character.
Batman can be someone who would rather not kill people, but to go out of his way to never kill anyone is just like,
He's kind of
Well, 'cause he
always done
believes in
that,
justice.
even since the original, actually.
He doesn't want to be he's not like Judge Dredd. He doesn't want to be the executioner. He wants to, he's a
Just make
detective.
them, he wants to dispense justice. He wants them to go through the actual justice system.
It's stop the crime. It's
like,
stop,
why
that's
not
what
have
you said, stop the crime. That's it. As you said, to stop the crime and then deliver them to the police or whatever.
Like when in Detective Comics, he used his gun as a tool. Like he would shoot, like he shot at vampires. He would like summon police with it by firing it in the air, or he would shoot at a bomb or a device or something. But there was only one specific time that he shot at a person, and he
like I
said,
said,
and he said to himself, "I'm afraid this time it's necessary." Like he really didn't want to
yeah,
do
I
it,
like
and
that.
that was the sole time. It was literally a one-time thing.
Yeah, I like that. I think they need to do more with that.
I think what we're saying is that
present a conundrum for him where someone has to die. I
Yeah,
think
but
that's really interesting if you're making that as a thing for Batman to overcome. To say he should never kill anyone ever is kind of pants, really. It's
we did
limiting.
that though. We did that in Batman Begins. He says, "I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you." And then
I love that
Ra's
part.
al
That
Ghul
part's so
dies.
good.
He just goes away. He's like, I don't have to save you. He doesn't have to save you. It's kind of like that the whole the thought experiment of the trolley one, where it's just on one side of the track. It is like
No, you're not remind. No, we're not.
By the way,
not
so
doing
I
that.
want to take this in a different direction for a second because Batman killing somebody. We have other versions of the character.
I actually
that have
love
been-
the metaphor he was about to bring up.
Oh, okay, then go on.
What's that one where it's on two tracks, runaway
It's hard
train,
for me.
and on one side it's a like a baby that's on the track or whatever, and on the other side it's they can go normally, I guess, or something. It's either you pull the lever and save the baby because it's about to run over the baby, and then on the other side of the track it's like a sheer drop. You'll kill everyone on the train. You can either pull the lever, save the baby, or do nothing, let the baby die, and let the train keeps going. It's a matter of do you take action? Is it your fault if you don't take action? And
Yeah, like how responsible are you for the
Yeah.
situation?
So I mean, Batman, Ra's al Ghul led. Those are his own actions that brought him to that place. And so, is Batman a killer because he doesn't save him, or
I mean, it's still manslaughter. So
it's that same mentality? Is he a killer because he didn't save him?
It's still manslaughter, and that's still illegal.
That was Nolan's
He's
solution.
Batman's broken plenty of laws. We crossed that road a long time ago.
That's really not the point. For example, if we go look at Watchmen, Rorschach is like Batman if he was broke. What?
I've never seen it.
Well, what my point is that Rorschach is like if he was Batman and was broke, if he was like a homeless, almost vagrant, like
Yeah.
smelly and stuff. And
He was broken mentally too. Rorschach used to not kill either. He used to be. He said he was one time he was soft. When he let him live. He used to let criminals live. That sort of thing.
He's
Now-
like Batman if he snapped, basically.
Yeah, we snapped pretty much. And he snapped because of this horrific traumatic event, and then he started killing people. That's
Right,
what
and
happened.
then so basically what we get from Rorschach is somebody that will kill people, and what we see is that the character of somebody that is like Rorschach, the redeeming quality is the result, and it's the ends justify the means being tested against other things.
And people
It's-
like Rorschach, but he's not a hero.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like that's the whole story of Watchmen to me is testing out these different perspectives that are sort of conglomerate versions of the characters. So like the comedian is like he's a superhero, but obviously he's a horrible person.
That guy's like a villain almost, I think.
But he's a villain almost. But what I'm saying is that he was successful at what he
Yeah.
did.
Oh, yeah.
That was the point, is that he was efficient with it. And then the secondary point was also that Dr. Manhattan didn't stop him ever, didn't alter his behavior.
Because he
And
didn't
that's-
care.
He didn't care. He didn't stop the woman from getting killed, even though he could have done that. And then there's like he's questioning essentially John Osterman's existence at that point, and like Dr. Manhattan's not even human anymore. But that's also has to do with the limitations of Dr. Manhattan's powers. And then the other thing that's interesting is that the death of the comedian, the Captain America analog that's mixed with kind of the Punisher, that kind of thing. Like he's the first that Asmodeus, who's also a superhero, who's kind of Lex Luthor, right? Who's like Riddler and Lex Luthor almost. Like he's a character that is trying to get the ends justify the means just as much as Rorschach. But suddenly they have different moral qualms. Like their morality is broken in the direction that it began and ended based on their goals. Like their goals and are the ends justify the means to the characters, but then their goals are twisted inherently. They're like bad ideas. And so the issue that I see from a lot of superhero characters that's enumerated in Watchmen is that if we're going to have characters like Batman that go out there and punch criminals, and you're going to have them kill, you might as well have them do something else. You might as well have them do something clever. You might as well have Batman with a sniper rifle just sneaking around,
I mean,
or using a drone.
I've never been a huge fan of when Batman goes out and solves, problems with his fists or his gadgets anyway, because I don't know. It always seems like they forget that Batman is the world's greatest detective, DC Detective Comics. So when he's out there with his Batmobile and he's blowing up people's cars, or he's jumping into a room and beating everyone up, and not killing any of them, mind you, he'll break their legs and break their collarbones and what have you. But none of them apparently die. They're just brutally disfigured for the rest of their lives. Like I get it. He's a hero. He should be actiony because it's engaging. But he's also a detective. He solves things with his mind, as well as his gadgets and his fists. So I feel like, especially the later films, more so with the Snyder stuff, slightly less so, I suppose, with the Dark Knight. But that sort of side of Batman has been diluted over the years, and it's the bit I really want to see come back. But I do like the idea of presenting a moral quandary where he has to kill someone because of, I don't know, greater good or something.
Here's a good point by Rocket Zeno. Thanks for the 99. Batman killed people in the Tim Burton movies.
Yeah, but Tim Burton doesn't count. Like, he's not an authority on Batman.
Well,
he just did his version of it.
The thing about the Tim Burton movies is that he made like comic book movies. Like his world was not like, it was darker, but it was not quote unquote more realistic. I mean, the one with the Joker, he took out a gigantic gun and shot down a plane. It's not all that realistic. And
there's a difference between what Zack Snyder does in creating an ultra realistic world, where
it's not even ultra realistic.
Superman's like thrown through a building and fucking thousands of people die because it collapses. Between when Shazam, I use Man of Steel.
It's so sad. They all die by the 1,000. Big explosion.
No, it's like, okay, you compare Man of Steel and Shazam. When Shazam gets thrown through a building, the way they treat it's not serious. He's just kind of flying through this building, and the building doesn't collapse. It just creates a hole, and these people look through it like, what the fuck just flew through the building and created this hole? And then when Superman flies through a building, the entire thing collapses. You're thinking, oh my god, so many people just fucking died. Oh shit.
Exactly. If the movie were more comic book style, if you can do the comic book logic, with which you pretty much can in the Tim Burton movies, you would think, oh, maybe it was all empty. Maybe it was no one got hurt. You could
Right.
Fill in the blanks because it's more in the realm of comic.
It's more
books.
Campy.
Yeah, it's more campy. So when I have like that idea where that scene where Batman accidentally blows someone up or purposely blows someone up in one of the Tim Burton movies, you could kind of more or less guess that maybe the guy is just knocked out, that he's okay, even though in the realistic world he would be dead. So it's kind of like, that's why Tim Burton movies are never really made this big uproar.
The problem is that Man of Steel and Zack Snyder in general, 300 really works for me because it's sort of written perfectly for Zack Snyder's style, which I think is 2 speeds. He's either dark, quietly brooding and just walking around and taking in nature and thinking about the self and wow, what am I going to do? Or it's, I'm going to choke you in slow motion for a second, then hit you really hard into a wall at 200 miles an hour action. And there's no fun little jokey moments. There's no deeper emotional character moments. It's either one character's brooding and the other character is pissed off and raging and fighting stuff, or the other one is. It's all very droll to me. And the problem is that we have the comic books. You can take it into that cartoony direction if you want to, or you can make it serious if you want to. But you better get into it. You better do something with these characters other than just replicating an Arkham City fight sequence in a warehouse where he just blows people to shreds and stuff. The issue is that we're presenting Batman as a character and we have so many iterations to choose from. And Zack Snyder's always going to choose from these 2 different iterations. It's brooding Batman who also wants to beat people up. And it's, save Martha. And then Superman, what is he? Oh, he's a brooding Superman and he really wants to beat people up. It's save Martha.
Everyone's just dark and brooding. Everyone's just Batman.
Everyone's just Batman. But it's not even Batman.
It's like Deadpool.
a cliche version of Batman.
Yeah, really cliche.
And that worked in 300 because you had Leonidas and the different people that were brooding were like Shakespearean actors or they were like Scottish people that were just like, I'm going around like this here. It was going to be like that. It was going to be gritty and gruff, and it was going to be all hyper masculinized.
And I think I've seen the pattern of DC wanting to turning everyone into Batman, and Marvel wants to turn everyone into Deadpool. That seems to be where those two companies are going.
Yeah, everybody's Deadpool now. Like, I'm gonna look at the camera. Hey, check it out.
Deadpool as well.
Oh yeah, of course. But so there's two distinct issues with the DCEU. One is that you have the Zack Snyder influence, which is really just him taking the 300 sucker punch sensibility, the whole color scheme and everything, and adding it to Christopher Nolan's like darker realistic world or whatever, and trying to replicate that. And then we have the super colorful copy of trying to get the box office money from Marvel, which is all about it's quippy and funny, but that's only because Guardians of the Galaxy worked that way. That's only because Avengers worked that way. That's why they made Suicide Squad different after Ayers tried to make some gritty, low level shit, which I thought would have been interesting.
I think we probably spent enough time talking about this, and Literature Devil probably was, because we're now at 2 hours and a half. I believe Literature Devil had some kind of doctor.
I'm glad we got to sneak in a little bit of a Batman into this discussion.
It's okay.
The Crucious Primate, The Witch of the Five. I think Star Trek Wrath of Khan is a great franchise movie because it keeps the characters and world consistent, but also has a self-contained arc for Kirk. That's why it was so good. I think most people think or hold Wrath of Khan as the best Star Trek movie of them all.
It's the closest to the ideal Star Trek movie, which is like a really, really good, big, chunky episode that has more fleshing out of each of the characters. Something that wouldn't have been able to have been done before. But the problem is with all Star Trek movies is they're done after the fact to get nostalgia money, after everybody's already done with the franchise and we've already done everything. Terrible idea.
Instead of humbling herself, she was proud of her insufficiency.
People who are just proud of their insufficiencies and just go on and write their own egos in masturbation sessions rather than trying to entertain people. Just entertain people. But that's some interesting news for people who some good news for people who are Doctor Who fans. Well, relatively good news. I think Jodie Whittaker, what her name is, still canon, but good news coming down the way.
Please tell me the fuckwit Doctor and the infinite other fuckwit Doctors are not going to be canon.
Oh boy.
Where they made, there was infinite Doctors before the Doctor, despite the fact that they established that the first Doctor was the one who stole the TARDIS, and this other fuckwit
They broke all the rules. They broke all the rules just to be contrived.
Yeah, and the infinite other Doctors, they're all black women or something. Let's see here. But the good news is, new Doctor Who rumor says Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall are out. After season 13. They're out. That's what the rumor says.
I think Jodie Whittaker was such a
Hallelujah.
I don't think that Jodie Whittaker was a good idea for the Doctor. I don't think
Nazi
where it should have gone. But I feel I don't blame Jodie Whittaker for her version of the Doctor, because I think she's a good actress and she could have definitely done the role. I think it's more the way she's written that it's just God damn, it is insufferable. I hate it. It's cringe.
What I think they should do, get rid of those writers now, have the next episode be a promo where it's Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, just wakes up like, oh, thank God.
No, I don't think they could kind of do what we want them to do with Luke, because once, as much as I want David Tennant to come back,
or solution for everything
for
have the real guy wake up at the end.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It was just a bad dream.
Yeah, David Tennant.
Moffat never happened. Oh, thank God, Moffat never happened. Neither did Chibnall.
Who's this Holdo woman? Nobody knows this. There's no one's invested in that. Who is she?
It'll just be.
I've not seen that one before.
It'll be Tennant, and he wakes up, and then Luke is standing over him, and he's like, "I know, I had a horrible dream," and then we can have some sitcom music, and it'll just be every main character from every franchise waking up in a row, and we can play some like 80s music.
Yeah, it's just a compilation of everyone's favorite protagonists waking up and everything's good again.
Yeah, exactly.
How great would that be?
He's super card and everything. Oh, wow. He wakes up in his vineyard. Everything's awesome. He's Riker and everyone's coming over for dinner and everything's a happy life and everything.
If someone in real life just somehow had the money to do that, just purchase all these characters, just make a compilation with Benny Hill music, all our favorite characters waking up. Whew, whew, oh, thank God. And it's got the music playing. That guy would be the Bruce Wayne of life.
Oh, that'd be great.
Anyway, I think that Jodie could have portrayed a good Doctor. It's just Chibnall's fucking stupid and retarded. It's like they don't do anything new, and it's all cringe.
And according to the ratings, nobody liked it. Not even the people that wanted to like it. Like they're doing it like for women or whatever. That's trying to make her a role model for women. And according to the ratings, all the people who were watching the series at the beginning were more or less.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Oh God!
It's like it's gotten like I hate this.
Holy!
I don't know if it's true, but it's kind of gotten to the point where Doctor Who has either lost the Christmas day slot due to either Chris Chibnall like wanting like either show ratings going down too much, or Chris Chibnall didn't want a Christmas special. Instead, he wanted a New Year's special. So like it's either a religion thing or it's the ratings, and I don't know which is worse. It's like, oh, Doctor Who is now so unpopular and no one watches it. They can't have the Christmas special. Not the Christmas specials are never good, but it's kind of just something you can laugh at and say, yeah, it's terrible.
It's probably a religious thing because according to a doctrine, they're supposed to hate Christianity. So can't have that. Can't have that.
Huh.
Well, it wasn't inclusive to anyone who doesn't celebrate Christmas.
Well, yeah, I guess it's also that as well.
You know, even we got to represent more people. Why don't you entertain people? Why don't you stop applauding yourself?
Fucking Japan and China now celebrate Christmas because we've exported it over there.
Yeah, they said now that they celebrate Christmas, they laugh at these woke weirdos over here in the West constantly.
They're like, wait, Christmas? That's awesome. And then they're like, wait, some of them don't do it? What's wrong with you?
Celebrating peace and love and all goodwill to your fellow man and exchanging free stuff. What's wrong with that? Oh,
I mean, it's perfect for them. They have the mall the size of a city.
Yeah, apparently.
I remember it was like last year at my college, last Christmas, they refused to put up Christmas decorations because so this is something they did every year, but they didn't do it this year because they didn't want it to be offensive.
Because they wanted to be weird.
Because they didn't want to be offensive to people who aren't Christians. I was like, I'm not a fucking Christian.
They're insane.
Well, I mean, if I go to I don't know, if I go to the Middle East, because I'm not a Muslim, are they going to just not put any Muslim decorations or any celebrate any Islamic traditions over there because I might be offended? Is that how it's going to happen? That's ludicrous. Okay, it's ludicrous. Why would you do that? Jim, nice to meet me. Thanks for the 5. Appreciate that. Our old heroes are dead. You can cry about it all you want, but they're not going back. All we can do now is move forward. Hail Comascate. Exactly. And as we talked about, I think yesterday, we're creating new heroes, new characters for the future, and we're moving forward. And we have an avenue to make them into movies. Not big blockbuster movies, but at least like Shadiversity is doing maybe like a 15-minute or maybe 5.
Yeah, like a film gate kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a start, baby steps, but it's still there. It's still there. So it looks like Chibnall and Whitaker are out.
Good. They've killed the fucking show.
All these friends are being killed by this woke nonsense. Nobody wants it.
Can't you just like rewind a little bit and just like say, oh, that was in an alternate universe, and then just pick up?
Oh, that wasn't a real regeneration.
Can't you do that though? Can't you
It was a fan fiction.
Get all the people that you had
universe
in before that?
Something like this, it's very difficult to get them to kind of say, "Oh, this wasn't like." It's difficult to get them to do for the sequels. It's because it's kind of
because they're invested in their own dump.
It's kind of something they've invested in already. They've already spent the money. They've already put the time working, and there's fans who still like it for some whatever reason.
So what you're saying is they're committed to being stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen the fucking BBC?
I've seen a lot of things that are like the BBC.
So what you're saying is,
Instead of humbling herself, she was proud of her insufficiency.
Yeah, the BBC ain't fucking humble at all.
Oh, I love that.
Sticks up their own fucking ass.
Let's see. Alex Hill, number 2. It's not a Japanese Christmas without KFC. Very nice. Very nice.
Another thing about the BBC is, God damn, I hate them so much, and we have to pay for shit. Like, if you want a TV, you have to pay the TV license. It's like, oh, thanks.
Oh, mate, you got a TV license?
We have to pay for something which we don't even watch. You fucking twats! It's because the reason why it's a TV license, it's because it started like obviously when TVs was first coming out because they needed a way to pay for the BBC, and the BBC, it's kind of just something that kind of it began and it made sense when it began because the BBC was the only thing you could watch, but it's just kind of stayed there, and now it's just there forever. It's a tax you have to pay even if you don't watch it, even if you watch ITV, which is like a private channel. You still have to pay it. It's fucking stupid. They could do a Netflix. I honestly believe that they should do a Netflix thing and do a subscription service, and that way, at least it's optional. And they could probably get more money out of a subscription service because they could put it all over the world. Anyway, I'm just ranting now. Fuck the BBC.
I don't understand you foreigners. You guys are weird.
As explained, it's a tradition thing.
Why do you need a U in the word color? It don't make no sense.
Because that's the way to fucking spell. We created language. You'll fucking spell it the right way.
In America, improved it.
Every time a British TV show goes over there, it ends up falling flat on its face because you guys don't understand it. So you don't improve shit.
The Office.
No, like our voice said it.
No,
sorry, Shiny, but the US office is far superior to the UK office.
Go for shit.
What?
It's kind of like we've seen what was it? Kingsman. It was the first one where Samuel Jackson's character like, you guys don't talk so funny.
You talk so funny.
Trouble understanding you guys sometimes. You all talk so funny.
You talk British. Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
Speak American. It's the
I want you to speak American, and I want you to get me those freedom fries I like so much.
Yeah, the best fries.
It's very simple, Shiny. The US office is better than the UK office, but
no,
Robot
but
Wars
for
is
shit.
better than but Robot Wars was better than BattleBots.
Fine.
Hey, at least we're not stuck with them. At least we're not stuck with the woke accent.
Aluminum? What the fuck?
No, I like the English accent more. If I had the English accent, I'd feel a lot better. It's easier on the voice box.
So here we go. Season averages of how this run has been going.
Looking good.
Down 52% for percentage demo change, and down 41% on percentage mill change.
Wow.
Looking good. Looking good.
That is mighty impressive.
Why is Chibnall out? And with numbers like these, why is Chibnall and Whitaker out? Why not keep them?
I don't understand.
The thing is, though, they don't even have to get rid of them because again, you have to pay. This is paid for no matter what. The TV licenses you don't have an option to pay. You can't cancel it like a Netflix subscription.
Wow,
they don't have to worry about ratings at all because they don't pay for it with They don't pay for it with advertisements, so ratings don't matter. So they don't have to do fuck all.
Jesus, this is really bad.
They lost like 200 million viewers just from the first episode, and then after that, it took what? How many episodes? They hung on to basically their audience until the last episode, but it's like crazy. What episode was the 9th one? What was that called again? From the last season, the one before the finale.
Forgot.
But when just bringing the ratings, do you know the funny part is that the fact Jodie Whittaker was coming in as a female doctor, the ratings boomed for the very first episode of the first season she was there. The second episode, not so much. No one tuned in after that.
Yeah, I'll tell you why it boomed, because people thought that they were going to do what some of the fans wanted, have a the hot female fan service doctor. They realized it wasn't that, and they took off.
No, I think it's more just it was like, oh my god, this is so new and progressive, and it's like when people watch, it's like, oh no, this is actually quite shit.
Yeah, when you pander to the progressive people, you don't get new fans. You get people who look tuning in. It's like, look, I'm watching the premiere of the new Doctor, new female Doctor, so I can upset all the chuds. That's it.
It's possible it was both.
Well, the thing with Doctor Who and the way it's always functioned is because between the incarnations, the stories are very much self-contained. There's no giant overarching plot with Doctor Who. So David Tennant
usually if there is, it will be with it.
David Tennant had an arc that lasted through his time there, and then the same for Matt Smith, and then the same for Peter Capaldi. There was like a continuous storyline that resets every time there's a new Doctor. So if you don't like what an incarnation, you just skip it, and then when you find out it's being replaced, you hop back in. You'll have missed nothing.
I just want to point out. I really want to point out. So, Literature Devil, do you remember $1 Million Extreme? Sam Hyde. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, there was this comedian guy, like comedian troupe. They were pretty edgy. It was like almost like poll humor, image board humor. They had a 6-episode run on Adult Swim for comedy sketches. They were given like, I don't know, maybe $100,000, couple $100,000 or something to make this series. Probably less than that. I don't even know. But they had 1 million viewers almost consistently throughout their run. Now, the average of Doctor Who, one of the longest run, supposedly huge nerd culture thing, has half than a little tiny shitty comedian show that you've never heard of. That's embarrassing. I know it's like 4 years ago compared to now, but this is just awful for a long running show. You should be getting millions of views, right? Why aren't you doing that?
Well, no, Doctor Who's always been kind of hit and miss, to be perfectly honest. It's the closest I think it's came to greatness is probably between David Tennant and Peter Capaldi. But it's either been something very much tied to this nation alone, or it's sort of fallen out. That's why they had a reboot after the film, because it dropped out. It did terrible, and then they decided to bring it back with Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, well, there was a huge gap between.
That was essentially a reboot.
The show died. It kind of, I suppose, what's happening now. The ratings were really good, especially around Tom Baker, but then it just plummeted.
What year was this?
And then I don't know off by heart. I'm sorry.
It's around the film and Sylvester McCoy time.
Yeah, no. So no, the show was cancelled, and then they did that film, and the film didn't do particularly well. It did, I think, well in America, I believe, that film. But when it came to home, I don't think it did very well on TV. Though I think the time it's really boomed in America was right around Matt Smith's era, where they were
in 1988.
So it's been irrelevant for a really long time.
And
then why do I hear about it so much?
Oh,
on the
because
internet? Why is it so popular?
Okay, so Doctor Who, it came back and it was rebooted, and it took England by storm. So they weren't expecting to get really as big as it was.
It came back in 1996.
I don't know. I don't understand it. Hold on a second. I don't understand this because I'm looking at the ratings right now, supposedly, and it's millions of people watching this every year. So
yeah, but you got to go back to 1988 to find out.
Maybe
why
it's not millions. Maybe 5 is 500,000. So the last big year was what, 2008 maybe, and then 1980.
Yes. 1980 was 1989 was when it was cancelled. I think they did a film and then that was it. And then it was gone for years. It came back in 1996 with. So 1996 was the film with.
It was 2005.
2005, it came back. It had a larger viewer base than it did when it went out, but it fell apart in 1986 with the Sixth
Yes.
Doctor. So that must have Colin Baker must have been the least liked Doctor or something like that, or writing. I don't know what the hell. But
He was.
the
He
point that
was
I'm trying to get at is
definitely.
that what we're trying to see is what's the statistical pattern here where it's fallen apart. Obviously, we know the 13th Doctor is annoying, but what about Peter Capaldi? What about Matt
Actually,
Smith?
DJM Voices has a very good point here. Thanks for the 5. Thank you very much for the 5 DJM Voices. If they can explain away all the impact of the Time War on the Doctor's life with, you just won't remember the change. They can retcon Jodie. That's a pretty good point there. That was a huge, enormous part of the new Doctor Who, and they just retconned it away.
But they did something like that back with Matt Smith, where there was a villain who was going to erase the Doctor's history entirely, which would have killed him off. So I mean, if they'd done something like that for Jodie Whittaker, where they literally just erased the last 3 years of her life or what have you,
That wasn't really a good episode, but still.
it wasn't. But the concept is sound in a way. You have a villain who succeeds maybe, or it kills himself at the same time, and it erases Jodie Whittaker's last couple of years. So it's like they never happened, and she just regenerates there on the spot. But I don't think people who still like Jodie Whittaker would be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think the only way it comes back is the things. When it comes to things like Star Wars and Doctor Who, they don't want to erase what they've done because they don't really want to give a middle finger. What they want to do is they want to give a soft sort of like push into the right direction, so that they want to kind of leave. They don't want to poke fans of the sequels or the new Doctor Who, and they want to just move it to the side and kind of try and get back to where it was before. But when it came to the Doctor, the ratings, I believe the ratings were the biggest when Matt Smith was around, because that was the big push over in America. They were shooting in America. They were like different American episodes which in fact centered around very American things, like the Apollo missions and going to the moon, and they were showing this in a lot of stations. Yes. Like it's very obvious in retrospect how much they were trying to aim towards the American audience to try and sell it over there, and that's the height of Doctor Who's popularity. But now I believe in America, it's pretty much dead again.
Yeah, no one talks about it here anymore. It used to be a huge boom. Nobody talks about it over here in America anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the boom.
Anywhere.
I'm pretty sure it was late Tennant, early Smith.
I think that it had to do with the actors.
The show got so small again with Jodie Whittaker, where they literally just take place in a hotel room or something like that.
That's all budget.
When in comparison, Matt Smith they built an entire Wild West shantytown for like episodes that he's in, or giant castles on the moon or something like that, because it was going so successfully. And then I don't know. I guess a lot of their outsourcing went to shit.
Even then, the money and the budget isn't really much of a thing, because the first season was on penny. Yeah, it's never been huge because it's funded by the BBC, and obviously the BBC can't. They don't have much money because against the TV.
Yeah, they don't have two nickels to rub together.
But still, the very first season was made with pennies, and it's honestly one of the, I think, one of the most highest quality seasons with Eccleston. Well, it's one of the highest quality seasons you can get. The very first season of the reboot.
What was it? Was it Satellite 5? Was Christopher Eccleston? And
Yes.
that was 2 rooms and a corridor set that they
You guys
just
should
reused
do
and redressed.
You guys should do a Doctor Who
podcast.
There's a really great episode halfway through David Tennant's stint, I believe, where they get a group of tourists and him get trapped on a bus on a planet called Midnight, where you can't actually stand outside or you'll be incinerated. But
that was one of my favorite episodes.
There's this creature that takes the control of one of the passengers, and it's just 40 minutes. It's like half an hour of David Tennant just talking to these scared humans and reassuring them are okay, and getting the reactions of all of them. It's just one room the entire time, and it's brilliant.
It was actually further than halfway through. I'm pretty sure that was shortly before his regeneration. It was really near the end. I remember because I remember how much I loved it.
I think one of the things Doctor Who has kind of lost, because is one of the things which you can see this in the first 2 seasons, they had so little budget, they had to reuse things. But the way they reuse them, I do like, because in the very first season, you have elements which are reused in the final ending from all over it. So you have the Daleks as an antagonist who were introduced into reintroduced, I should say, from one of the episodes. You have the idea of the TARDIS being shielded from the Sylvine episodes. You have Satellite 5, which is the place which the story is taking place in, and you come back to it and you see what's happened after the Doctor left, and the Doctor's actions actually fucked the world, and it made it de-evolve, and you kind of see the ramifications of sometimes when the Doctor leaves, he doesn't always leave it better off than when he came. And there's so many things which they just kind of reuse, and it kind of builds this interconnectivity within the entire story, and it kind of has some kind of payoff. So it's like, oh, they set up, this thing, and it pays off there, and it feels connected, and it works really well, I think. And you just don't see that in any of the things. It's now in Doctor Who, it's all just, so the finale will have a new antagonist, or it'll be bringing back an old antagonist from a couple of seasons, and it doesn't tie into anywhere else within the own season. Hell, even the second season did it with Torchwood and the Cybermen.
Yeah, and that's the stuff you get high ratings from. That's the stuff that, because I'm pretty sure if Doctor Who failed in the first season, it would have gone away. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have continued it, at least not the way they did. But it got bigger. It didn't get smaller. It got bigger. The audience got bigger. The productions got bigger. Everything got larger and more expensive, and because it was wonderful, it became an icon.
It was the casting choice of Eccleston to start with, who was strong enough to sort of open up the show again and get people interested. And then they had a great choice with David Tennant to actually prove that the reincarnation thing can still work. So they both nailed those performances.
I wish Eccleston, he continued for another season, at least one more, because
something happened with him. There had to be something that happened with him.
Something behind the scenes to do with the people in charge. So the showrunner, the director, the head writer, and a couple of the producers, they were very much against him for some reason, and it got to the point where Eccleston just decided to up and leave. He was just so fed up with them, and he wanted to leave Doctor Who and never come back. And because he left Doctor Who, the producers kind of whispered up the arc and said, "Hey, look, this guy's left Doctor Who. We can't just allow people to leave, this shows like this." So to discourage people from leaving their shows, they blacklisted them, so they can't ever return. They're not going to get picked for another BBC role. And the only reason why Eccleston was able to continue as an actor was because he kept getting rejected all the time. One of his friends, who was the high up within the BBC, rang him and said, "Look, I've got some bad news. You've been blacklisted by the BBC, and that's why you're not being picked for any of the roles. You have to go to America, and you have to find roles over there, because you're not going to find any work over here in the UK. You've got too many people against you." Because it was very much almost a conspiracy against the dude.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to find any information. Like, he wouldn't say anything on why he quit.
He's mentioned it and referred to it a couple times, but he's never said the explicit reason. And the reason why he doesn't want to do that is because he doesn't feel like it's fair, and he doesn't want to damage Doctor Who in any way. Obviously, it's not fair to kind of put your side of the story across without the other person there, because you're only getting one perspective. But
if I wasn't so damn peaceful and in line with the Force, I'd get up and I'd smack the shit out of you.
Oh yeah, I'm talking a lot.
Basically, Eccleston's probably, I guess that's Eccleston's point of view. If it was so peaceful, I'm with the Force, he would come out and say something probably, because he eventually got canceled, blacklisted.
Yeah, like the way they fucking treated him, it's like, dear God, just because he left, because he wasn't having like anything good with the directors and the producers and shit.
Pretty much. But we're reaching like almost the hour mark here. I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the stream, cut it off here. But I just want to end on some good news that the new Dr. Jodie Whittaker, Chibnall especially, we think it kept Whittaker. At least just kick out Chibnall. Just get Chibnall out of there. You can keep Whitaker, I don't care, but get Chibnall out of there.
Also,
and that's
get rid of that TARDIS design. It's disgusting. I hate the crystal look. It's horrible.
Well, at least Chibnall's going away according to this rumor, so that's good. That's good. We need someone who's not woke. Someone
Fingers
who's
crossed.
Get someone else in there.
God!
Get Moffat back or whatever.
Something I've just seen in the chat says Torchwood would under the BBC with a new agenda would literally be burning male genitalia. Get it? Because it's Torchwood.
I wouldn't be surprised, actually. I wouldn't be surprised.
Since we're on the topic of Doctor Who, I have a video I'm currently working on discussing the 2 Doctor Who VR games that are absolute dog shit. So if you want to go subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, those awful wretched games that they made.
Yeah, so there's Doctor Who: The Runaway Child, which is a free game. However, that does not mean you can't criticize it. Again, it's paid with a fucking TV license. So we're paying for it without actually...
It's free.
Yeah, oh, it's free. It's like, no, we paid for it already. So, and they're terrible games. It's absolutely boring and god-awful. But I've hopefully managed to change my review of The Runaway Child into something entertaining. I've transformed my pain. And then when it comes to... so I'm just trying to get a link to my channel for everyone. When it comes to the other one, it's the one that you actually have to pay for. It's an improvement, I guess, over the other BBC games, but it's still...
dismal.
It's still shit. It's absolutely shit. And it had so much more potential, especially when it's something they were doing. There's certain horror elements. They work fantastically until you realize that you're actually in no danger at all. Because there's like fucking red eyes staring at you through bushes, and it's like, oh shit. And they're running around, and it sets up the atmosphere fantastically. But you can just walk around, do whatever you want.
You quickly realize it's just superficial.
It's just superficial horror. But I'm gonna get my channel link into the chat, and also recently with just kind of advertising the content I've created more recently, I have a video with Literature Devil talking about Star Wars: The Clone Wars, a video about my thoughts on Star Wars Squadrons, and I've finally been able to release my kind of not recorded stream to where we watch the Director and the Jedi.
Yes.
Oh, God,
Yeah, it's very sad. The Director of the Jedi is very sad.
I think it's funny the contrast of what was happening there. So like everyone went in like, oh, I'm really ready to rip on Ryan Johnson, and by the end, everyone was so depressed.
Yeah,
it's funny
Everyone
because it's
talked
true.
about it like they had so much faith.
Anyway, thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you, Glib. Thank you, Shiny. Thank you, Angel Yokai Zero. And thank you, Voice in the Radio. And thank you, Graham Nolan, for dropping by. And thank you, of course, Best Chat, for joining us today on This Morning Nonsense. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you all, of course,